Too late, I hit the button. I hit the button.
God damn it.
Oh my God. Is your mic on? There you go.
Is my mic on?
Should be.
I'm on guest. Yeah, it's on.
Why
All right.
Jared?
Oh, it's the first one I grabbed.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. All right, now you can do it and everyone can hear you.
Matter, but...
Go ahead. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Oh, dizzy.
I feel like a bubble mode on the set might be kind of fun. Like, as we're closing up the show, just a bunch of bubbles suddenly come down from the ceiling.
That would be so cool. Can we do that for science? And then I could talk about... No, you know what we need to do? We need to have a show, like one whole science show, all about the science of bubbles.
Oh my God.
And I have like a bubbleologist.
A bubbleologist? A bubbleologist?
Yeah.
You're just making things up now.
That's a real thing.
I don't
No, seriously,
believe
bubbleologist is a real thing.
you. No.
Seriously, when I was with the science circus, the people in the science circus whose shows were all...
You're not winning me over here, Lisa.
Seriously, when I was in the science circus, my show was on flight because space. But the people that had bubbles as their show, they were bubbleologists. When they went into a school, that's how they would introduce themselves. And then they would talk about all the science about bubbles, and they would do some cool tricks with bubbles. They were bubbleologists. Anyway, so I should interview one of them on science, and they should... Actually, it's a master's degree.
It's a master's degree?
Yeah.
In bubbleology?
Pretty much. Yeah, and they could like do some cool bubble demos and explain them, and then we could end the show with a thing of bubbles, and it would be amazing. And we could have a competition as well with all the oh my God, this is great. So we can have a competition where the hosts have to catch as many bubbles as they can using what they learned about bubbles from the bubble scientist, and then that's how we end the show. It's a bubble catching competition. I think it's really great. I would watch.
It's your show. You can do whatever you want. I would watch. You should have a show on the science of unicorns. Oh, my God. We're live. All right, so for anyone watching the on-demand version of this, we're live like 30 minutes early, so I'm not going to get into my actual, I have an actual rundown of things that I want to cover. I'm not going to get into that for like 30 minutes. So just, if you want to hear about bubbles or see bubbles or this.
Okay. If you have a website, bubbleologist.com, why is your email meganzips@gmail.com?
It's getting all over your computer, Lisa.
Like, can anybody, like, how does that, why would you?
I want to know what bubbleologist is about.
Oh,
Yes.
it's all over my screen.
And I also don't understand, like, here's this entire website, bubbleologist.com, which is brilliant on her part, really. But you get to the bottom
so
of it,
sorry,
and
I
it's
got
like,
bubbles all
you
over
want to
you.
know more about
I'm not
her,
the
go to this other website that is not bubbleologist.com.
HelloBubbles.info. And it doesn't work. HelloShowtime.com doesn't work.
Why?
Oh,
For
man.
more on Megan the Bubbleologist, visit MeganMcIver.com. Why? Just put all of your information on bubbleologist.com.
She's based here in LA.
Yeah, that's why I clicked on her, actually.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's right, Neuropilot. That's right. Do you know why I haven't spent enough time at Disney, specifically last week? It's because I got sick. Now, why did I get sick?
Hello, John, by the
You
way.
know this is a video show, right? And so, like,
Just pointing doesn't work.
just speak. There's
The
a
speaker on it. Inside joke. Inside joke.
microphone.
I didn't get it.
Pop-out chat. There we go. All right.
Oh, I'm like, what am I doing?
Well, so the
rundown.
problem is because this is a citizen chat and it's unlisted, it doesn't actually work with our integrated Colton chat room.
Yeah.
It's one of those funny things where like we take the chat room for granted, and like forget how incredible all the integration actually is until we don't have it anymore, and then we're like, "Aw."
We've
But
had it for so long now, and it's been working so great for so long.
yeah,
I can't even think back to the time before we could put chat stuff on screen.
I know, right? So that's so Colton. It's all right that it doesn't work. I just have a couple chat rooms open. It's fine. But it does make us appreciate your work on the chat room even more than we already do. And I mean, it's not that we don't appreciate it. It's just like this is a reminder of how amazing the chat room actually is.
So good.
So good. So good.
Like, so good.
That stuff at the bottom of that website,
Yeah.
I think that's a glitch because the rest of it looks right, and she actually has a link to a
Right, rundown. What are we talking about today? I should know this. Oh yeah, the bit where you're going to throw to me. I know what
But
you're gonna say.
still, like,
website.
I have an entire website based on my
Oh, that's right. You wrote all
bubbleology.
the notes for me. Thank
You
you.
want to know something else about me? Go to a completely different other website.
Oh yeah. I wrote.
Like,
I don't have mostly. I don't have notes, but you know, I have a rundown. All right. Now that I popped out the chat, can I move back this way? All right. There we go.
Is anyone watching yet?
There are 10 people watching.
Oh, cool.
So unlike a regular show, this is not going to get.
I know.
This is most people like Vax can't join us live. We're 30 minutes early, so I can't actually start anything. But I
Wow.
can say
that's kind of a lot of weird tags on how to become a bubbleologist.
hello Allison, hello John.
Like Stephen Hawking, war,
Hello,
and Yuri
neuropilot.
Gagarin. I don't.
What's a roll call?
A roll call. Oh my God.
Why are you asking?
Is that where do you
Because
see
it
that?
just popped into my head. When you were saying hello to people, I was like, that reminds me of something.
One time, or maybe twice, we actually did something called a roll call.
Don't
which
say we.
I did something called a roll call, where we had the chat room was small enough where we only had like 30 people in there or something like that, and so for every username I saw, I went through there and I was like, I gave everyone a role. So
Roll.
Mini Elon in the chat room actually was given the name Mini Elon by me during roll call. Huh. Yeah, and there were a few others, like Mighty Ginge would be like, no, that doesn't apply here. Now you're known as, and then I would just give them another name. Yep. Although I think Mighty Ginge is a good one, so I probably would have been like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I may have said something. Knowing me, I would have been like Gingy McGingersons.
Gingy McGinge face.
Gingy McGinge face. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, Intotron.
Intotron.
We got there in the end.
We did. But I feel like the T needs to be, like the two T's need to be capitalized. Because, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because Tron, you're going into the game.
No, maybe they're just saying that they're into the series. So I'm into Tron. Like, into Tron.
Have you ever seen Tron? No. The premise of Tron is that you go into the actual game Tron.
Well, that's why I didn't get it then. That's why.
Here.
Careful. Make sure your mouth is closed.
They're everywhere.
So, this is my cure to Stoja's sickness. Instead of, what the hell is it called? Wellness
Oh, wellness formula, yeah.
wellness formula. Instead
You
of
gave
wellness
me
formula.
no context there. I had nothing to work with.
I know. My brain just stopped
Really?
working. So instead of wellness formula, I think that the brain is an amazing thing, and this would be just as but good, if not better, than wellness formula, because it makes you laugh.
You know Athena's watching, right?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Oh, she knows that I have no faith in wellness formula whatsoever. We've had these discussions. There's no like doubt in anyone's mind that I'm like, neat. It's not going to hurt you. It has vitamins and root, but neat. It's not going to help you either.
How neat is that?
How neat is that?
It's pretty neat.
Oh, apparently we both got the reference wrong. I wonder if that's working. It's a reference to a Van Gogh, really old.
What's a Van Gogh?
Oh, Astra.
It's not Van Gogh.
Oh, I think it's in the.
She's in the YouTube chat.
Alfred
You're in the wrong
Elton
chat
Van
room.
Voort.
It doesn't matter what chat they're in. It doesn't matter.
Oh, hello,
Oh,
Ellie.
all right, Colton, go ahead. Restart the server. I would love to. I'd love to get it over there. Who? Who do we have? Allison? Do we know Allison?
Yeah, she's an EV channel. She's a EV.
Oh.
subscriber.
I thought you said AV channel. Like, we don't have an AV channel.
It's my accent.
Yeah, if you could do the show without the accent, that would be great. Or lean into it and do it with, like, Uber accent. All right, chat room went down because Colton is doing that. He's trying to hack the YouTube room into the regular chat room. I need some water. I'm sorry, water.
While you're there,
What would you like?
a water, please.
A water.
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 You say it, water.
Water.
Do I not say water correctly?
Do you want it cold or
It's not
like
you,
regular?
It's Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Ginge, how do you say water?
He says water. I think it's Boston accent. Is that right?
No.
No.
By default,
Thank you.
You want the cold one or you want the room temperature one?
Oh, if I had a choice, I'd take the room temperature one.
Give that back. Don't touch that one. Don't put your sickness
He
on
likes
that.
cold. I don't. Neil
Lisa,
deGrasse
I don't
Tyson.
understand. Why is the cold bottles more squishy than the room temperature one? What is the science behind
Allison.
that?
Definitely talk
I don't
louder.
know how to make my Australian accent even more accented than usual because
Call your
I
dad.
lose it all the time when I'm around these guys. I start sounding American.
Just call your dad.
hold your nose.
Does that actually work?
Oh, yeah, it does. It was hilarious.
Really?
Yeah.
Not like a little bit either. It was like full on. I was like, she's straying again. Crikey.
I've heard you get more Australian talking to your dad. I did the same thing to speak to my grandfather, like get him on the phone, and all of a sudden I sound like I'm 30.
All right, well, should I just call my dad? That's weird.
Herding sheep somewhere.
Hi, Dad.
Yay.
I'm just on tomorrow right now. How you going?
Oh, the YouTube room is making it into the main chat room now. You just have to refresh your main chat room. Huzzah!
Go, Colton.
Colton for the win. All right, we're like 20 minutes away or so from me doing like real stuff for now. It's just, so again, if you're watching on demand, just 20 more minutes.
You are talking to the people that watched a live stream of plants.
It's true. No, it's a smaller subset, but yeah, okay, that's
I feel
fair.
like the bar has not been set very high. If we could just sit here and say nothing, they'd probably still watch.
Stupid bubbles.
I knew that would crack you. Oh, Colton, now my chat room's broken.
Why is it broken?
Because my nickname is currently being used by another user that has not dropped yet. Something, something. Oh, never mind, I fixed it. Maybe it was Colton that fixed it, who knows? So, it's great that now we have the chat room in here.
Yeah, I know, right?
Awesome.
Tars hacked the Gibson.
What's a Gibson?
Oh my God.
No, to be fair, that is a completely ridiculous reference to something that is relatively niche.
All right, so that is fair. It's from the movie Hackers. It has a very young Angelina Jolie in it, and no one else you would ever recognize ever.
Johnny Lee Miller.
Who's that?
Who's that?
Johnny Lee Hitler.
Yeah, no, he makes a good point.
Sherlock, not Sherlock, whatever the
No.
elementary.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, no one else you would ever recognize.
That's how they met,
what I
yeah?
said.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, yeah.
Hackers,
Allison says, chat's so broken for me.
1995.
Yeah, I saw that.
but-
I don't understand.
I don't understand either. Yeah, 1995. So the other,
I was 2.
it's a cult. Hack the Planet. You were 2. It's a really bad movie, and we're going to make you watch it now. The other movie that's actually really good, but is older, is a movie called Sneakers.
Matthew Lillard was in it.
Who is that?
He was also in Scream.
Okay.
Lorraine Bracco? No way. Mark Anthony? Mark Anthony?
Oh,
Some big names in there.
Yeah.
wait, Allison, are you trying to view the chat room on Safari or an iPhone or any iOS device?
Because the chat room hates that.
Yeah, the chat room, basically, the chat room works in Chrome.
End statement.
End statement.
What was the other one besides hackers? What were you saying?
The Sneakers.
Oh, all right.
Chrome on a PC.
Oh man,
Interesting.
everyone's at Wonder
92.
Broken on Chrome for me. Interesting. All right, John. Well, you guys can be in the YouTube chat room. Works just fine. It traverses over, so something's broken.
We can't type back to you, but we can speak back to you because that's how this works.
Oh, right. That's the other fun thing. So in Sneakers, the movie, are you familiar with Cray supercomputers? Have you at least heard? Oh my God.
Now, talk about names. Sneakers, Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Ben Kingsley.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
River
Sneakers.
Aykroyd
Phoenix.
was in Ghostbusters, right? How do I know
mean,
that? I've not even seen
If
Ghostbusters.
River Phoenix doesn't make you sad, you don't
You've
know who
not
River
seen
Phoenix is.
Ghostbusters?
So there's that. Like,
There was an old parody band in Australia. I can't even think of what they're called, but they used to wear masks. They were making fun of Slipknot, and they did a song that is titled "I Want the Drugs That Killed River Phoenix."
oh wow, wow.
So I'm on the drugs. There we go.
Ah,
Yeah,
I hear that.
tasteful.
I don't know that Sneakers
John
was
Ellis,
a good movie.
you're not a dork for knowing what a Cray is. You know what a Cray supercomputer is. You're at
Yeah,
least
well, that's
familiar.
your fault, though.
Josh, you know what a Cray supercomputer. Okay, the only person in the universe that doesn't know what a Cray
Not in
supercomputer
the
is
universe.
is sitting right here to my
I bet
right.
your niece doesn't know what a Cray supercomputer is.
She's not a person. She's just a little pot of
Germs.
virus and germs. Yeah.
Wow.
Doesn't it make you really happy?
No, it's kind of, yeah. I'm like,
You did that to yourself.
I did.
Need to not laugh today. That'd be great.
So, are you familiar with at least the term supercomputers?
Yes.
Hey, man, at this point, anything's game. Don't look at me like that. All right. So there's a company called Cray, and they made, I think they're actually still around and still based in Minnesota. There was a whole, like, they were and they weren't and they were and they weren't. They were one of the more famous producers of supercomputers.
Oh, Athens.
What did Athena say?
I highlighted it so you can see it
Oh,
better.
Athens.
I'm so sorry that everyone has to
credit.
hear me cough because we don't have anyone like muting me when I cough. Oh wait, I can do it.
Yeah. So supercomputers are things that take up rooms, right? They are huge. Mm-hmm. In the movie Sneakers, they have, I think it's a Cray 1. It's an old school, it's a Cray supercomputer though, but it's like in a glass booth and he basically goes and sits on it. It's kind of a moment for nerds to be like, don't do that!
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. That was a really long way to get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. They've moved to Seattle, but they used to be at St. Paul.
Yeah. It used to be in Minnesota. Maybe that might be what I'm thinking is that they left Minnesota, so they're dead to me. That might be might be how that works.
Seymour Cray, so the original founder, had the headquarters at St. Paul. So.
Yep. And they put out a lot of heat, so it helped keep the state warm when it was bitterly cold. All right, so like about 10-ish more minutes, and then we'll go into like some of the main things for the show. Any fun things you want to talk about for 10 minutes? Are you just like Facebooking over there? Facebook. You're post-secreting. Thanks, Carrie Ann.
No problem.
Oh, yeah, Lisa does need a retro movie marathon. I feel like all the good movies you don't know.
Were we just talking about this? Okay.
Yeah, but I wasn't listening to
Yeah,
you.
you said good, though. You've yet to mention a good movie.
Sneakers.
Nope.
Sneakers is a good movie.
Nope.
Chat room, back me up. Is Sneakers a good movie? Also, I'm a little bit worried.
Half
that
the chat room hasn't seen Sneakers.
I like The Breakfast Club.
It's a fantastic rebuttal.
I was trying to see. All right, I'm trying to see what the latency on this thing was set to.
Sneakers, hackers, war games.
Oh my God, war games!
Says
Would
the
you like to
programmer of the chat room.
Would you like to play a game?
I think, we need to have a movie marathon, and we need to watch Pocahontas, and we need to watch Breakfast Club.
No, you need to watch War Games. I have an entire network segment named after the main computer in War Games called Whopper.
Cool.
W-O-P-R?
Cool. Neat. Is that your John Oliver
All
impersonation?
by myself.
Cool. Yep, Whopper. We backnamed out Whopper. So the story goes, we were there ridiculously late troubleshooting some stuff, trying to figure out how to make something go. And you know how whenever you're working late, you generally have some sort of background something on. One of us either at one of our sites had War Games on in the background or something like that. I mean, we're going back like six years at this point.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to, we found this issue and we realized, okay, well, we need to build a new subnet to get around this issue. Blah, blah, blah.
Wait, really? They're making a TV series of war games sometime soon?
That I would watch that. War Games is a great movie, by the way. Thank you, Allison.
I don't know if it's a great movie.
It is. I mean, it's old now, and like some of the like the modem is laughable, but
Yeah.
I mean, it holds
Matthew
up.
Broderick, right?
Something like that. It holds up. It holds up. Like conceptually, it holds up. The technology obviously doesn't.
Sure.
But yeah. War Operations Planned Response. So we backnamed out WOPR to be WAN Optimized Priority Routing.
Oh, man. Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy.
Who's Ali Sheedy?
You wouldn't know Ali
I
Sheedy.
wouldn't know Ali Sheedy. War Games is a good movie.
That's...
This is the kind of network connection where it's not just a modem. They have to pick up the handset from the phone and stick it onto the computer terminal so that it can use the microphone and speaker as the transmission mechanism at like hundreds of baud per second.
Baud. So good. Ali Sheedy
Have you ever heard of a 56K modem?
Yeah.
It's 56,000 baud. This would be like 100 baud.
Huh.
Yeah.
Ali Sheedy was also in
That's like
Breakfast Club.
Australian speed.
No, this is like Voyager 1 speed.
I'm just talking to myself now.
Was it 150 baud? Yeah, it was. There you go. Thank you, Allison. Hello. Thanks, Elon.
It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I know that's
was
not
that
Elon proper due to the use of an exclamation point. Also, too many words.
Did they join on Patreon before or after they deleted their Facebook?
Oh, Elon Kerman. All right, that's fair.
Elon's like, this is Elon.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
So like,
I regret.
Oh, wow.
This is amazing.
got introduced to it probably second year uni, and I wouldn't have looked at it since uni. So it is more than 10 years. It would be like 12 to 13 years since I looked at it.
He was just in San Diego.
Oh, is,
Like, he does speaking engagement now. Yeah.
Saying today.
I didn't know it was a guy. I like,
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Athena, did you know what a Cray supercomputer was? Tell me you knew what Athena, you knew what a Cray supercomputer was.
It's like a dope supercomputer, right? Like it's cray cray. That's what that is.
Because cray cray means dope. And dope is good now.
Oh my God! All of you millennial. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What are we?
Athena did not know what a Cray supercomputer was.
I don't feel like there's a need to know.
There is
it.
a need to know this.
No.
There is a need to know this.
Yeah? What purpose does it serve?
My purpose for world domination.
Wow, you are failing miserably.
I know. I'm still sick. My brain doesn't work.
I know what'll fix that.
Oh my God, no.
Make sure you
See,
keep
look,
your mouth
there's a
shut.
smile. Oh, it's stuck in your head. It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. Look at that. I need a screenshot. Someone make a GIF.
It's known as a GIF.
I mean, you already had crap on your shirt, so.
It's true.
I need a sombrero. Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Neuropilot. Posted a link about the Hangout. Kind of as a reminder. Motham?
M0
M0. Yeah, anyone in
said.
science. Yeah, like science would use cray supercomputers to do cray things on computers.
Does that mean I'm not a real scientist?
I'm going to have to say it means you're not a real sicentist.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Does that mean I can't run a show about science then?
I guess we'll have to get a cray supercomputer in here.
Where are you going to put it?
It'll take up the room. It'll take the room. And then some. We'll just have to knock down those walls.
We're not getting into the second floor.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Paul, that's a good way. Are you familiar with IBM's Big Blue or Deep Blue?
That's not just like general knowledge.
I feel like that was
No.
general knowledge.
No.
Your call sign is VK6 FMO.
I didn't get to choose it.
FMO.
The VK6, well, VK is for Australia, 6 is for Western Australia, F means I have a foundation license, and then the 3 other letters were just randomly assigned.
Little miniature. Oh.
I didn't say anything.
You chortled.
Good job.
You chortled.
Proud of you.
What I really want, hang on, let me type it in the chat room. That would be great.
Oh, that would be great.
Right?
She wants VK6 TMRO. But what, like, so, where?
I want to change the first bit, but that's based on where you live. Mirror? Really?
Oh, Alley Cat made it into. So for those of you having issues with the chat.tmro.tv, use Edge of all browsers on Windows. That might work. Sounds like Chrome is not working currently.
Yeah, did you?
Like in the. Thanks, Athena. Athena's in the Discord chat room.
Magical Athena, that's magical. That's gonna, you know what? I'm gonna make that my, hang on. I'll make that my desktop background.
All right, you ready to go start the show? You want to go press some buttons?
Yep. I'm not gonna be able to,
You can leave your mic on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's fine.
I didn't take my water. I need that. Oh. Bye, Internet.
Why don't you take your bubbles? Actually, don't do that. I don't want you to get bubbles on the switcher. Don't get bubbles on the switcher. Don't get bubbles on the switcher. Please don't get bubbles on the switcher. Oh my god.
Only because you asked nicely.
All right. Hello, world. Hello, Colton. All right. I actually have some things to talk about and stuff and things. It's going to be cool. It's going to be magical. I should start in 2 minutes so that I actually start on time, right?
Yeah.
That's nice. That'd be nice of me.
Yeah.
That'd be a thing.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh no, I got bubbles on the switcher. No, I'm kidding.
You know, do I need? You know, I might need an IFB so I can hear Lisa.
Oh yeah. That's what I was about to say when I got up. I was like,
I can't hear you without an IFB. That's just. I just said I need an IFB.
God damn it.
At least we've never been accused of being professional. Yeah, it's more like a slip and slide.
Now I can mute myself when I'm gonna cough.
You could mute yourself before. All right. Oh, now I can hear things. I'm not gonna.
But it's easier this way.
Sure.
I don't have to reach into my pocket and flick a switch. I can just press a button.
Neat. All right, so I figured I've got a nifty little rundown here, kind of showing you some of the stuff. So I'll start with some of the more boring things. Some of the group will like it. It's slightly more techy, so I'll just give you a quick rundown of kind of what I wanted to talk about. And by the way, since this is a Patreon, dang it,
Citizen Hangout.
Citizen Hangout.
Good job.
So close.
I know. Yeah, I should talk about Patreon as well. I'll add that in the end. I'll add that in ad row above.
Chat room would be helpful.
Patreon. Okay. So we'll start with some tech. So I'm going to talk about some of the new technology we've added. And some of the new technology we're about to add. I'll try to go through that because anyone who's not into audio video tech is kind of going to be like, neat. And then we've got some new marketing campaigns that I think, or marketing campaign, singular, that I think you guys will like. That's going to be coming online soon, and you guys will get basically the first, other than the Escape Velocity channel, the first glance at what that's going to look like. And that leads into some new website stuff, which will also lead into some emailing things. I also want to talk about Facebook, or the Book of Faces, Faith. Some space weather. A little bit about why we've been shaking up the hosts on the show. Talk about that and like what we're trying to do and why it matters. Some updates on science that Lisa will give us. Tomorrow Tech, and then as I just mentioned, I just added Patreon into the rundown. And then we need to show you the plants that we've been growing because it's a little bit absurd what's happened with these plants. So we'll close out on plants. Yeah. Oh, and actually, Colton brings up a good point. If you're an Escape Velocity citizen and you're not in the Escape Velocity Discord channel, just email Benjamin at TMRO.tv. I'll get you a quick invite. Make sure that if you can email from the same address that you use either on Patreon or Maker Support, or just let me know what that address is you have on Patreon or Maker Support. I will make sure that you're attached to the Escape Velocity Discord channel. It is a really cool perk of being an Escape Velocity citizen, and I want to make sure that you definitely have access to that. But getting started, since you're the citizens of tomorrow, I thought you should know kind of where your money goes. Outside of paying for things like the studio space, bandwidth and whatnot, and we'll talk about bandwidth in a second. But the first thing is, you may have noticed a little while ago, all of a sudden our audio got a lot better, and it stopped having so many like cutout issues. Ironically, not last week's show. And that's because we installed something called an Axient wireless system. I have a nifty screenshot from the website that kind of shows like what all that is. Button press. Cue the button. There you go.
Yeah, you.
I was not paying attention. Actually, I was muting Carrie Ann because I noticed she was about to eat. That's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. So, This gives you an idea as to what the heck it is. It's just a little picture of the some of the back-end infrastructure. Axient is like way overkill for what TMRO actually needs. It's a very, very robust and large and incredible wireless system, and so that's what we're running now. We've got a 4-channel base unit, and then we've got antennas wired all throughout the studio space, and we've got everything tuned to specific frequencies based on an analysis that the system did on open spectrum. So we've basically fixed our audio issues with the Axient packs, and then we got all new microphones. So that was, I want to say that was about 15 grand worth of audio that we upgraded all at once. Mostly because I was sick of having audio issues. Video is 80%. Okay, we don't need to look at that picture anymore. Video is 80% audio. So I wanted to make sure that we got the audio right and really cleaned it up and made it a non-issue anymore. To that end, the next issue we were having was Skype and our network connection back up to the world. You may have noticed some issues with like YouTube and our Skype callers getting, having problems. Then in the studio, our chat room kept falling off. And so there were a few different issues there, and it's still kind of being fixed. The first issue was we had too many users. We have too many people showing up in studio and jumping on the Wi-Fi. And that's essentially crashing the Wi-Fi because we use Spectrum Business Class, which is just the same exact cable modem you get at home, but they charge you 5 times more money for it. And they put a little sticker on it that says the word business. And that's the only difference. So just like at home, you can't have more than like 20 objects connecting. Here, you can't here in the studio either. And we had way more than 20 objects connecting. So it was crashing our wireless, making it impossible for us to chat with you. So during, not last week's show, I think it was the week prior, or maybe the week after that, a couple weeks ago, I basically was pinging some of the people that I work with over at Company X who work in wireless, and I'm like, I need to fix this. I need to fix this once and for all. What do I get? And they said, oh, well, if you don't mind overshooting and getting something that's a little bit too big and beefy, get a ubiquity wireless system. So we did. I had it shipped like overnight so that we could get it installed for the next show. And it was so good that I actually decided, all right, well, we're going to go for a whole ubiquity network. So we did. This is for the nerds out there, this is what some of the web interface looks like to actually like remotely monitor the system. So not only is our Wi-Fi from Ubiquiti now, but also our local area network, so our entire switching system inside the rack, so all of the cables, all the VLAN and all that fun jazz, that's all Ubiquiti now. And our wide area network connection is also Ubiquiti, so our border router and everything else. Again, this is for the nerds. I forgot what the next screen is. Lisa, I think it's like so this screen gives me an overview of like what's going on, just topology, how much bandwidth we're using up and down. But then I can also go into specific users, and I can go, oh, this particular account is using too much bandwidth, and I can boot them off the network, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to randomly boot Carrie Ann. I got nothing out of you on that one?
I'm muted.
Oh. So, the power I wield. So I can actually see
It was Lisa.
Now you're unmuted.
Dang it.
Cool.
Are you finished eating? Or should I still mute you?
Actually, I'm not plugged in. I'll go grab an ear. God. So complicated.
As Destructor 1701 says, Copenhagen suborbital uses Ubiquiti Wi-Fi equipment for the barge-to-coast 40-kilometer network link. I would be surprised if they're using Ubiquiti Wi-Fi. They're probably using Ubiquiti point-to-point, and likely in the 2.4 or 5 gigahertz spectrum. But so and actually, here's an interesting screenshot. This is showing you. This is the 2.4 gigahertz network topology. So it's the Ubiquiti radios looking at the spectrum and trying to determine where it has available spectrum to actually get the best sort of connection. And then on the next, they've got the 5.4 gigahertz page as well, so it breaks down all of the different things. So the network is pretty cool, we did pretty good. You noticed last week's Skype caller was pretty solid, stayed online. We didn't have very many issues, but we had these weird blips in audio where audio would suddenly cut out and come back. That's because the new wireless mics and the new audio board and all that fun jazz, all of that is based. All of that uses a digital audio routing network called Dante, And when I installed the new network, I did test it, but I didn't test it for an extended amount of time. And it turns out that under the Ubiquiti switches, for whatever reason, the clock that Dante runs on, which is very important in audio, the word clock, it would randomly reset. And when it resets, all of the audio on the board just goes poof and dies, makes that noise, and then comes back online. And so I was doing some troubleshooting in the middle of last week's show and actually made a change to the entire network while we were live, which was a little bit terrifying for me to do, that should have cleared up the audio. So we're going to check that today and see if our audio ever cuts out. But I'm pretty sure I've cleaned up the audio issues. So we should have a solid Skype network. We should have a solid uplink, downlink. We should have solid Wi-Fi. The last step in all of that is I need to replace the Spectrum business class network itself. So I'm looking at a systems called Sky River, I think it is.
Sky River?
Yeah, stand by. Let me make sure that's right. Sky River. Yeah, that's right. Skyriver.net. So I looked at three. I looked at Spectrum Enterprise, which would be actual fiber optics to. Oh, I have to look over here. Actual fiber optics to the studio. Thanks.
Yeah, see how it's not the one with the confidence monitor, but it's actually the camera with the red light on it.
With the light on?
Yep.
So, I looked at three services. Spectrum Enterprise. They were very promising. It's all very expensive, but it would be fiber optic into the studio. It'd be 100 megabit symmetrical service for about $1,000. So that's Spectrum. Then I also contacted AT&T Enterprise to get fiber optic in here. They didn't call me back, so I connected with them again. They didn't call me back, so I emailed. They didn't email me back, and so I went, cool, you obviously don't want my business, which is ridiculous because there's already hot fiber, AT&T fiber, in this building. It's the only provider that already exists in this building, and they just DGAF. And I'm like, all right, if I can't even get your sales team on the line, what happens when I need support? So I have no idea how much it costs. It could be half the price of anyone else, but it's irrelevant if I can't actually get service installed. So AT&T is out. And then the only other service I've been able to find is Sky River. Now, Sky River is enterprise-grade wireless. It's a lot like you met Destructor 1701, super Minnesota accent in there in Copenhagen. That's not what you had actually said, though. Anyhow, talking about how Copenhagen suborbitally uses, uses their Ubiquiti Wi-Fi equipment for their link. While Sky River, it sounds like, doesn't use Ubiquiti for that, they do use similar systems, which should get us enterprise-grade wireless connection to the studio, 150 megabits, so 150 up and down. So hopefully that will actually clean up the rest of our internet connection issues. Right now we're 300 megabits down, but only 20 megabits up. And during the show, if you're looking at one of those still images earlier, you'll notice that with just one Skype box op and just one encoder, we were at over 10 megabits used. So, you know, we just need more uplink bandwidth. So anyhow, it's still going to be about $1,000 a month just for bandwidth in the studio because they can. That makes me sad. But yeah, that's where some of your money is going, right? So new audio system, that was about $15,000. New internet, so new networking system was another, it was just over $1,000, and then we're going to spend about $1,000 per month on wireless, we'll call it wireless fiber. I don't know what else to call it. So.
Wireless fiber. That's ridiculous. 15 G's. Jeez.
Destructor is saying that it is actual straight up Wi-Fi with a parabolic antenna. That's weird. I guess neat that they would do that, but that's not how I designed that system. Our system's designed to go 40 kilometers in that spectrum that isn't actually Wi-Fi, but it's like purposely designed for that. I would just use that. I do use that. That's how I know I use that. All right, let me go back to the rundown. All right. So that's wireless mics. That's the network. One other thing, in case anyone cares, we have the ability at TMRO to do what's called painting and shading our cameras. Each camera has essentially color correction built into it. It's much more so than just simple white balance. We can actually go into highs, mids, and lows and make sure that all the whites coordinate and all the skin tones coordinate and the blacks coordinate. We haven't. We have these cameras out here on the floor fairly well set, but the camera in the control room doesn't work super well right now with that. So I've ordered a box that will allow me to run into some software called Scopebox, and that's going to let me do things. Yeah, it's going to let me make color. Jeez. It's going to let me color correct and actually use video scopes to make sure that the whites are where they need to be and the blacks, and that everything's basically in the correct location for all of that. So I probably won't have that for next week's show, but maybe the show after. So hopefully we'll start to see some it's going to be those subtle little things in the show that people don't normally think of that will help to make the imagery look a little bit better. Because I've always been of the opinion that all things matter, right? The script, like what we talk about matters, how we look matters, how we sound matters. All of these go into making one cohesive show that's just, it's better when all of these things go together, are in working cohesion. It's just better. Cohesion. It's better. All right. So that brings us to some of the marketing and whatnot that we're going to start to try doing. We were at Wavelength Brewery. Wavelength Brewery.
Yes.
You put in the...
yes.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and Astrox, are people watching the video on Patreon and using the chat here? Yeah, so the primary chat for this show is at chat.tmro.tv if you can. But if you just want to talk on YouTube as well, our tomorrow chat room will also pull that over. So we went down to Wavelength Brewing Company, which is here in Southern California. What city is it in? Do you remember?
Vista.
It's in Vista, California.
Yep.
And it's essentially a science pub, right? How else would you describe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, science pub. So they've got weekly science talks that last about 30 minutes, which are really cool. They'll do star parties out on the sidewalk whenever they can. They've got some pretty nice telescopes out there. And when I was in there, I noticed that they have these giant posters and banners from like Moon and Back Media. They had, who else did they have? I think they had some Virgin Galactic stuff in there.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of really cool things, and I realized, tomorrow would put something in there if we had something to put in there that was awesome and like kind of inspiring, and you look at that and go, oh wow, that's really cool.
Right.
We don't really have anything like that. So several months ago, I embarked on a journey to start. I pulled at the thread to start.
You did.
I did to start a marketing campaign, and after much back and forth and tweaking and whatnot, we worked with Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, and we've got what we're now calling the Let's Explore campaign. And you saw a little bit of that in the thumbnail, but this is generally what the campaign is going to look like. I think it's pretty cool. And this is the widescreen version of this campaign. For anything that we put, like for any of the large banners and posters and whatnot that we would put in something like Wavelength, it actually would be, this is high enough resolution, it's stupid high resolution. So you're looking at this as a 4K image on your screen. Well, it's a 4K image in our system. It's 2K by the time it makes it to YouTube. But yeah, so this is what it looks like, but the original is like 4 times higher resolution than this. I had to scale it down to fit it into a 4K window. There will be a vertical version of this also, so we'll be able to make very large kind of like banners that we'd be able to put in like these science pubs. And the idea is to make them available for free or for extremely low cost to anyone who wants to be able to grab them. So we'll probably put those in our store and whatnot. I think it's actually pretty cool. I think it's a fairly inspiring graphic. It looks really neat. And that window behind there, we can put different things back there. So right now that's just, a color-corrected planet. But we could put, Moon, Mars, whatever we want. We could have different things going on back there. You'll also notice that it is Tomorrow General. A Destructor 1701 asks a question, what is the origin of the art? That's a great question. So a couple of different things. It is quasi-original. So the girl in the picture putting her hand up to the window, that was actually a picture of like a stock photo of a girl on an airplane putting her hand up to the window out of an airplane. Mm-hmm. And so if I were planning, I should have actually hadn't done like all the different revisions of this that it took us to get here. So originally, we actually just cut that out, cut out the window of the airplane, and put a planet back there, and we're like, isn't this cool? And everyone was like, it's neat, but it's not quite right. Like the window's too small. I think our Blue Origin friends were like, no, bigger windows in the future of space.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's fair. That's what you're doing. So, all right, we'll do bigger windows. So, then we throw a bigger window in there, and then, then the background doesn't work quite right, and then the shading didn't work quite right. So it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But yeah, so it's a bunch of composite images. So the foreground with the girl, that's one image. The outline of the window is another image, and then there's a chair from a plane, that's a third image, and then the background is another item back there. The idea I wanted to convey was, like, the inspiration behind this was I wanted to convey the idea that space travel, whatever you're looking at here, space travel is now common. It's so common that children are looking out the window of their spaceship that has like rows of seats in it. That's just a normal thing. So just like we view air travel today as being a common thing, I wanted to convey the idea that we're looking to a future where space travel is a common thing.
The chair is really, really subtle. So
yeah,
she's like on one side of the window and the chair's the other side of the window. Like it's
super subtle.
Really, really, really dark.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, you may not be able to see the chair.
It might be too dark.
It might be too dark in this. Yeah, by the time you go through all the video compression, you might not be able to see it. It is very subtle, but it is there. Maybe we brightened up a little bit, but I don't want to make it too bright because that's kind of how the scene would play out. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted. That's the emotion I wanted to convey. That's the thought I wanted to convey. Are they infectious children in space? Thanks, Mighty Ginge. Yes, all children carry disease. The structure 1701 chair isn't too important. No need to change it. I mean, I view everything as kind of being important. I want to make sure it's right, but I also don't want to edit that to death. I believe we are basically at a point where we're ready to release that. So I don't think we really need to tweak it too much anymore, other than what you'll likely see is us swapping out that background image from time to time, just to kind of keep it fresh, but it will still be the same, like, same girl, same everything else in the foreground. So that'll be kind of fun and neat. The thing, subtlety is important. Little details matter. Thank you, Destructor. So that led me to my next problem was, okay, I've got this really great image. It's got the TMRO logo on it. It tells you where to go, like at TMRO, and then you'll search Google, you'll find TMRO, and you're going to come across our website. And our website, this is a website. Our website is not very good right now, right? It's just it's there because we need something, right? So I put a call out on a previous show. I said, hey, I need help designing a website. And everyone in the community is amazing. We have developers coming out of our hiney. Many developers willing to help us code the website.
Would you say developers?
I'd say developers.
Okay. Just double checking.
Actually, Destructor 1701, an idea. You could use it in a promo, zoom back through the window from spacing to end on a Tomorrow trailer. Yeah, go back to the Let's Explore image. I think that's actually really a good idea where, because it is a composited image, so we have all of those objects in 3D space. We can drop those layers into After Effects, start on the planet, and that could be our new close where we actually come backwards and just end on that, and then the Tomorrow logo maybe ends up in the window instead. That might be a really cool way to start closing our shows instead. It'll take me a little bit of time to get there because I got a lot of projects on the table. But yeah, I think that's, that's pretty cool. Neuropilot, I swear. They said Neuropilot, they were GoPros on the Roadster, right, Ben Credible? GoPro, anyhow. Okay. No, because they worked. Let's see here. We have this great campaign, but then where do people go? That list to the website, we found plenty of developers, but everyone that I talked to said, just get me a design.
Yep.
Just get me a design. I'm like, well, that's the hard part. The design's the hard part.
Right.
Like, yeah, code, but I mean, I need someone to design. So we kind of put I put my feelers out there for designers, and I just wasn't coming up with anything that was in community. Now, by the way, if you're aware of someone in community that can design really great websites, I'm still open to that. Please, please, please get into contact with me. Because what we're going to do is we have designed a new website through 1 Week Website. I think they did an amazing job with the verbiage, right? Like, we did phone calls with them, and what they came up with, from a wordsmith standpoint, they captured the spirit of tomorrow perfectly in words. But I don't think we've captured the spirit of tomorrow from a design standpoint. The design is not bad. What?
You're wearing that in the wrong ear.
No, I'm not. This is blue.
It's not.
This is red?
Yeah.
No, it's blue.
Oh, I was seeing that.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Never doubt me.
I doubt you all the time.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I'm always right. So, so the design is okay. It's way better than what we have. It's light years better than what we have now.
Yeah.
But what I want is something out of the 22nd century. I want a clean, bright, optimistic view of the future, and I don't think we hit that. But I do think this website is a good website. So we're going to deploy it, but I'm still eager. If someone has some really great design chops, we've got the verbiage that needs to go on the website. I just need someone to like create the imagery that really would just make this thing rock. Something that's bright. This website's a bit dark, but go ahead and roll. We've got a video of me kind of tooling around on the new website. So this is what it looks like. So when you first go to the new homepage, there's going to be a countdown. So if Vax is watching, there's your countdown. It's all zeros right now because I did this on Saturday. And then this is pre-recorded, but then you get an idea, like it'll bring you down, you scroll down a little bit, you can see the different shows, get a little bit more information on the shows themselves, go down a little bit further, it talks about how we crowdfund the shows, how everyone here can help. And this is where we get into some of the wordsmithing. I will give you guys all a link to the beta version of this. It's all kind of in test, so you can actually go through and kind of read this. You then follow those dots as if it's kind of the path through that space system. I'm not sure what solar system that would be. And then you get some of our most recent episodes at the very, very bottom of the homepage itself, right down there. Then what we do is we scroll up and we go to the Watch Live page. This is unusably bad. We can't use that top part at all. They know that. They're going to fix it. And actually, a little bit higher, I didn't spend enough time on that, but there was a section where you can get email notifications of upcoming shows. This is the space page itself. So this shows you the different items in the space show, and you can actually go through all of the different orbits fairly quickly and easily to find whatever show you might be looking for. But you'll notice whatever the most latest thing in space is at the top. Same thing with science. So here's the science show. The latest science episode right up top, right where you'd expect it to be, and then a list of all the different science episodes on the bottom. This is the Who We Are page. Again, you're going to get the latest space episode right up top. The latest science episode ends up a little bit below that. Some verbiage about who we are. Again, they really just nailed this verbiage. And then below that, again, more text. And we have bios on every single person here, but it also talks about how we are the community. We are all of you, or what make tomorrow what it is, and you are an integral part of everything that we do. So these are placeholder images. We've been working on getting new images after each show. We've got a lot more coming. Actually, I think we've got most of the images ready to start populating that area. A lot of the images on these backgrounds, by the way, are like fantasy images, and I'm having those swapped out. So like on the home page, one of those images is getting swapped out for a real shot from Juno Cam. Yeah, that photo of me looks great. That's funny. This is the new swag store. It's actually integrated into the website. Again, that background will be changing to something that's a little bit more real, an actual shot from Mars or something like that. I don't like the fantasy images that we've incorporated in here, so that's all gonna swap out. And I think that's probably the last page that we've got on here. So that's a weird looking Ben. Yeah. So I think. Yeah, that's kind of what we're planning for the website for now, at least. Destructive. Everyone agrees that the fantasy images need to go away and replace them with non-fantasy images. Mm-hmm. So I sent over. We actually, Carrie Ann and Lisa and I sat down and spent a while. Well, you guys spent a lot more time than I, and then kind brought it down, and even the image on the homepage is going to swap out for something a little bit brighter, more colorful, and then like some Juno images of Jupiter. I think we've got a Saturn picture in there, a Mars picture in there, some actual images, because space is really cool, right? So why show fantasy images when you can show actual images from space?
Right.
So, yeah, I think I'm pretty excited for the new website. I think it's going to be pretty cool. And the new website and Let's Explore will kind of work together, right? So Let's Explore campaign will tie back into the new website in that it's going to give you a place to go. The new website's going to tell you what we're all about, why you should care. And then that brings me to my next point, which is for people who are maybe not hardcore techie nerds who didn't care about the first entire beginning part of like audio and Dante audio routing and whatnot. Maybe they're not going to follow us on Twitter. Maybe they just want an email notification of when we're going live. We kind of I scrolled over it really quickly in that video of the website, but there is a new email system in the new website that will give you an email notification of each upcoming live episode. My plan is, because Lisa has been kicking ass and taking names at scheduling guests for upcoming sods, so my plan is to kind of show like, okay, hey, maybe every Wednesday, remember this Saturday we've got a new show coming out. It's going to have this person. Also, the following week we've got this person scheduled. This is what we're going to be talking about. And that gives you an opportunity to go, okay, let me think of some questions maybe that I want to ask. And then maybe we'll guide those back to our Reddit room, or Reddit. And then we'll use that as maybe a way to pull those comments and those questions in and pre-stage questions on your behalf for the next show, so that we can kind of start getting that going. There is actually a TMRO app in the works, but I don't know if it'll have any of that. What is the? Well, we don't like me without the beard? What's wrong with me without the beard? Yeah, Lisa, did you want to add anything to the email side of it?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. I just want people to, because once we can confirm everyone in advance with guests, then we can kind of promote that more and then give everyone the opportunity to, prep their questions in advance, I guess, and kind of know who the guest is. Yeah, and I think you as a community understanding who the guest is going to be is better than you not knowing. Yeah. Just gives you some heads up. Also, Also, along those same lines, we need to do a better job of allowing you to ask your questions in advance, so that you, as citizens of tomorrow, you should kind of get priority on questions, if that makes sense. You're helping to fund the show, so if you have a legitimate question you want to ask, I would like to make sure that you have the ability to ask that in front of maybe some other people or other people who maybe have the same question. Should we set that up as a new Discord channel, like another EV channel, but just for questions, and then it all gets put into like one easy place rather than having to scroll through the Escape Velocity Discord channel?
I'm wondering, because not all citizens have access to the Escape Velocity channel, only Escape Velocity citizens do. So I'm wondering if
it's a new one?
I don't know if Discord's the right place. I was thinking Reddit, but maybe Discord makes sense, question mark?
Because at least with Discord you can limit it to who is a citizen, right?
Kind of. That's manual.
Oh.
Yeah, there is no automatic way to do any of that. Well, that's not entirely true. You could just simply post. We could post it on Patreon and Maker Support, and then that's automatically limited to whoever can answer there. But
that means you'd have to do all the work though, because you're the only one with the Patreon login.
I don't have a good answer there, realistically. It's something I want to do, but I don't know. I think we're at a point where I'm realizing I don't know how to execute on that in a way that makes sense. Destructor 1701. Oh, you're just kicking ass and taking names on this hangout. I feel the Reddit is a little underserved. It also needs a CSS overhaul. I don't disagree.
It's not untrue.
I think along those same lines, it might have been you. I don't remember who it was, but someone said we should have, much like /r/SpaceX has like a monthly pinned discussion thread about any just stuff. I think maybe we should start doing that on our Reddit channel, Reddit page as well, where there's just a pinned monthly discussion about space. Maybe it's the stuff that we've talked about here, whatever. It's just kind of an open threaded discussion forum that's pinned to the top of our Reddit page. But yeah, I feel like Discord, I'm sorry, Reddit doesn't get the as much attention as it probably should.
I believe it was Brandon Mark that suggested that.
Brandon Mark, yeah, okay. And Colton brings up another interesting problem, like a really good problem we have, and I don't know how to fix it, which is Rob Jones on YouTube. Rob Jones has been contributing left and right with super chats, and I feel like Rob Jones has contributed enough to be Escape Velocity patron, but because it's done through super chats, he's not tied to the patronage system. So, and I went to email Rob Jones or message him on YouTube, but I can't because it's all disabled on his account on YouTube. So the next time anyone sees Rob Jones on a live show and contributing via super chat, make sure someone gives him my email address, benjamin@tmro.tv. I will try to do the same thing because he should be in these, he's contributed enough to the show, he should be in the Escape Velocity rooms. He should have access to these tools as well. Just because you're contributing on Maker Support or Patreon doesn't, if you're able to contribute to us, it doesn't matter how or where, these reward levels exist outside of those entities, if that makes sense, right? They exist in all things. So I want to make sure that anyone who contributes via Super Chat also gets access to the same rewards that everyone else does. Oh, that's a good point, Destructor. You can't post web links or email addresses. Actually, Neuropilot. Okay, so
Here we go.
This goes back to something. Yeah, I can't add people manually. Yes. So this fundamentally goes back to a change that I want on our overall citizenship. And this is part of, I'm just going to move Patreon up here at this point, it looks like. This is part of my gripe with Patreon, and also part of why we're on Maker Support. And that is, Patreon does not listen to us at all. They don't listen to their creators. They're completely out of touch with the community. They DJF, right? So they have their own masters they need to serve. They need to, they're going to have an IPO someday. They have to make sure that they're ready to do that. I get that. That's fine. But that doesn't serve us very well. What I want is a crowdfunding platform that allows you, the citizen, to choose how you want to support us. Maybe that means you want to support per episode. Fine. Maybe that means you want to support per month. That's fine too. Maybe you want to support per year, per month, whatever. However you want to support, I should be able to go in and say, you know what? Escape Velocity is $10 per episode, $30 per month, $300 per year, or 1,000 new subscribers to our Twitter account through your referral URL or something like that. I don't know what that number would be. So that you have an option to become an Escape Velocity citizen in whatever method makes sense to you. You want to use cash? Cool. You want to use credit? Cool. You want to use Bitcoin? Cool. You use what works for you. You don't have the money, but you still want to contribute your time to the show by helping get people signed up through Twitter, by helping code a platform, by helping design our new website? Cool. You should be able to do that too, and there should be a centralized platform where I can track and monitor all of those citizens, however you may want to come in and be rewarded for your help, be it monetary, time, whatever it is. That is my ultimate platform. I believe Maker Support has a higher chance of achieving that than Patreon does, based on the conversations that I've had with each. At this time, neither one of those platforms does that. Interestingly enough, I'm saying I believe Maker Support will do this. They're actually further away from that goal than Patreon is. Patreon is a little bit more mature in those regards. But based on the conversations I've had, assuming Maker Support can kind of get a few ducks in a row, I think they're going to hit that kind of end result far before Patreon, for the sole reason that Patreon just simply doesn't listen, and Maker Support doesn't. They may not hit all of those points. They may run into some roadblocks, but yeah. Of camping it up. So Elon is asking, can you post the new campaign image here so I can use it as my wallpaper? Absolutely. So Citizens of Tomorrow on both Maker Support and on Patreon, I will post the image with the text, with the Let's Explore text, and I will also post a variation of that has none of it, and it's just the image, so that you can use it. I mean, you can manipulate it however you want. Excuse me. So yeah, that will be a thing that will happen. Yeah, we're over here now. So that's Patreon. That's a little bit about why I'm not anti-Patreon. Obviously, we are funded almost. we get so much more funding through Patreon than Maker Support. It's not even funny. Right now, they're not even in the same league. But as one of my roles here is to not just look at what we're doing today, but look at like what the rest of this year looks like, what 2019 looks like, what 2020 looks like, and how do we steer the ship of tomorrow in a certain way that makes sense. When I look to 2019 and 2020, I do actually see a time where Maker Support may overtake Patreon from a funding standpoint. It may also be slightly more stable. It could also disappear next week. I'm not entirely sure. That's why we run both. It's also why we allow super chats, because we need to be able to fund the show to stay on the air. I mean, that's the cold, harsh reality of it. We need money to do this stuff. But yeah. Oh, you want the window transparent? Yeah, I don't see what we should post. We can post it with like nothing behind the window, right? Just a PNG with a hole. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I don't see an issue with that.
You realize now that people are gonna like put funny stuff, like put like upside down and like Australian.
So, how okay with that am I? So there's a point where it's fun, and there's a point where then
it looks like it's released by us because it has our branding all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Destructor, let me noodle that a little bit. Or what I do is I make it so that almost like there's a developer toolkit, right? So for certain things where you have to sign up for it, maybe you have to sign up for getting access to. I don't know. Yeah, Urjaman, that's part of the problem is that, it is our campaign, right? So it's unique to us, and so if people start putting, just a wall of dildos back there, right? Well, I mean, now it looks like that's something that we've done, so I need to be a little careful with that. Anyhow, next up is Facebook, the Book of Faces. I have no idea what to do here. Here's the thing. I don't use Facebook. I DJAF, right, about Facebook. I really have not used Facebook ever. If you look at my Facebook posting history, I just don't use it. I don't get it. I'm actually with the Elon Musk on that one. I don't understand. What's your opinion on Facebook? What should we do there?
I don't know, honestly. I think from a usability standpoint on my side, it's terrible. Like, really terrible.
Does anyone here use our Facebook page? Destructor 1701. Wall of dildos was your first thought. Well, now it's going to happen. Thanks. So I don't want to just delete our Facebook page because it's the trendy thing to do.
We do have a Facebook page.
We do have a Facebook page. Right, exactly.
I mean,
right?
Yeah.
We have a Facebook page, but like, I don't know that, you're right. What I'm thinking to do with Facebook is quite literally nothing, right? Don't delete it, but also don't actively post anything there, right?
Right.
I don't see a point.
I believe there have been some comments from Facebook that have made it in the show, but it's extremely few and far between, mostly because most of the comments are on the live show itself as it's going on, if that makes any sense. And it's more like, you mean they can see this? Like, it's not anything that would be considered to be a good comment, I guess, for the comment section of the show itself.
Urja Man asks,
but even like finding them is super difficult. They don't, for some reason, they don't keep your posts in chronological order. by any means. So sometimes you find the latest video and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have to go searching for it. It's really fragmented and really bizarre, and I hate it.
See, Paul, this is interesting. So I used to use Facebook, but I don't anymore. But it was the way I found you to start with. So, right? I mean, discovery is one of our problems. Is like getting people to. I generally think that if you can find one of our shows, especially if you find us live, and you can interact with us and realize, oh my God, they're live and they're talking back to us in real time, and they're actually have intelligent conversation both on screen and in the chat room. I think there's something that's, refreshing and exciting about that, right? That's something that,
Yeah, I think if anything, we're probably just again, and this is I don't want to call it a problem, but it is something that happens routinely with you specifically, pushing the envelope of what can be done and should be done for this type of show or any show that wants to be interactive like we are, that you're too far ahead of it. And so right now it feels unusable because it's just nowhere near where you want it to be, but that doesn't mean it won't get there. And I think you're right. I think it's not harming anything or anyone, so just sort of leaving it is probably okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just don't want it to stagnate and then someone find that page and then that's their first impression of us.
I guess, but it's already kind of crap.
Well,
I don't think it's going to get any worse than that. As long as we continue to check on it, unlike the plants.
I think if you update it with the Let's Explore stuff, then, it'll...
It actually
at least be
has the
different.
Let's Explore, the girl on it already right now.
Yeah, we've been...
Well, I don't go to it, so...
No, but that's what I'm saying.
No one goes to this page. No one goes there anymore.
I try to every single week to look for comments. I make a concerted effort to go to Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, Reddit, TMRO.tv, which is hilarious considering that Ben may or may not ever put the latest episode on that website. Our very own website. The one
I don't like our website.
that has our name on it, that one, as well as YouTube. And you can see that even by going to all, 6 or 7 places, that the majority, overwhelmingly, of comments comes off of YouTube. Because that's where people comment.
Look at the Facebook stats for the page. The problem is Facebook kind of...
They break their own stats.
Yeah, their stats are questionable. How do they view insights? How they view a certain view of a video is not how any normal human would ever view a video. So for the last month, we've only had 150 page views. We've reached 1,400 people.
At least 4 of those are me. Because I go at least once a week.
Even if it's not a lot of people, though, it's the quality of those interactions that those people have. What if there's only been 100 people, but, 10 of them, found the show through that Facebook page and became long-time viewers?
Yeah.
That's the data that we don't have, and that's the data that's missing.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe we should put a poll or something somewhere saying, hey, what do you think of the Facebook page / how did you find out about the show or something like that?
Well, so someone, I think it was Yurja Man earlier, brought up, the Facebook group is actually where it's at. And I do kind of prefer the group because it does fit that community mentality of TMRO a little bit better than the page does. However, I don't believe Facebook allows live streaming to groups. I believe it's only to pages or your own personal timeline. Someone do correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm near positive that that's the case. So, and maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe we just don't do our live shows on Facebook anymore. I don't know. So Athena says, keeping it up is good. It retains a presence on multiple platforms. Even just doing one post occasionally still maintains its reputation. You never know who might be on Facebook and sees TMRO that have never would have seen it anywhere else. Yeah, and I think that's really the only argument for that's interesting. That is really the only argument for keeping Facebook is well, maybe someone will stumble across it. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. There's otherwise, as far as I can tell, there's no real value to it whatsoever.
No.
And it just, the page doesn't meet our standards, for the rest of what we're doing. It's just kind of crappy.
Right.
So, yeah, or as Destructor 7, we're kind of snobby about Facebook. And maybe that's it too, Yeah, we can share live video to the group. Yeah, all right. My takeaway here is I still don't know what I'm going to do about Facebook. Another new thing that I'm thinking of doing, and this is for the main space show, but we might use it for science as well, is a space weather segment. And much like you would want to see kind of, I don't want to say campy, but like your local news doing weather, that's how I envision this, right? Against a green screen kind of thing. So I set out to find someone who was maybe already doing space weather. And wouldn't you know it, I found someone. It's Tamitha, is it Skov? I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She's spaceweatherwoman.com. Here's just...
We've just come down from a solar storm that brought aurora all the way down to Germany, and another one's on its way. What does that mean for you? Those stories and more in the news this week. Space weather this week continues to keep us on our toes. We just came down from a solar storm from some fast wind. It bumped us up to moderate storm conditions. It brought aurora to the UK and even clear down south as far as Germany. Now this week we're still under the influence of the coronal hole that's been sending us some fast wind, but this part of the coronal hole, as you can see, it's incredibly extensive, but this part is not quite as well formed as what we just went through. This means the fast wind we're going to get is not going to be quite as intense, probably not quite as fast, and so storming is probably going to be a bit more sporadic. But this might be good news for you amateur radio operators and GPS operators, because a little bit of storming actually helps you. Switching to your solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we may have come down from that solar storm of the past couple days, but we are still under the influence of this massive coronal hole that's going to be continuing to rotate through the Earth's strike zone over the next week or so. At high latitudes, NOAA is expecting active to even minor storm conditions with up to a 55% chance of a major storm, and this will continue throughout the week. At mid-latitudes, we're only looking at unsettled to active conditions with about a 25% chance of a minor storm. But again, these conditions will kind of be sporadic through the week. So you aurora photographers, you need to stay on your toes. That's about the best prediction we can give you. But you amateur radio operators and GPS operators, you might actually enjoy some nice conditions, because if we're not storming too strongly, it actually helps you. Switching to your solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, everything is still in the green when it comes to solar flares. We do still have a spotless sun. This does mean that the solar flux is still low. So you amateur radio operators, especially on the day side, you're still having a bit of a problem. Of course, this fast solar wind and some of the solar storming might actually help you a little bit, but overall you may still be dealing with some issues. However, you GPS operators, especially on the day side, it's all smooth sailing. So the space weather this week remains pretty active. We're going to be bouncing in and out of storm conditions, so you aurora photographers, especially at high latitudes, you could probably get some pretty good shots. You're going to be pretty busy. Now, at mid-latitudes, your aurora photographers might be a little bit more frustrated because the aurora is going to be a bit more elusive. But you amateur radio operators and emergency responders, as long as the storming's not too strong, then you should get a bump in propagation that will help communications for you, which is great because you're sure not getting it from the solar flux right now. And you GPS operators, well, as long as you stay clear of the dawn dust terminators and clear of aurora, your GPS should look pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov. Thank you for watching.
Skov. I'm gonna mess that up again. All right, so we've been in contact with her. We're gonna do some phone calls next week to see what it's gonna take. I've kind of said too long. They need to be closer to like 90 seconds, and we need a little bit more depth on like the why. So Karen was typing in the chat room like she'll say like that'll help you, and it was like, how will it help you? Like, what does this mean to someone like me who has no idea? So her point, valid, which is, yeah, I mean, if you're going to limit to 90 seconds, going into some of that detail is going to be a lot harder. So I don't know how to make all of that, sort all of that out. That's kind of what the phone call is. But yeah, I think based on what I just saw in the chat room and your reaction to it, I think this is something we should pursue, question mark. The idea being commercial break 1 will remain launches. Commercial break 2 would become space weather. I thought that'd be kind of a cool thing to do, of just like, here's what's happening in space. Because space weather does impact you. I think the key here is going to make sure that Tamitha explains exactly how it's going to impact you, why you specifically care. Yeah. So Destructor 1701, info and presentation are really good. Graphics and sound need, excuse me, need polish. How does she feel about joining the TMRO family? She seemed on board. I pinged her, and she immediately did her homework. She actually reached out and like looked at the show. I'm sorry, she went out and looked at the shows before coming back to me and talking to me and saying, I reviewed some of what you're looking at. This seems like a decent fit. So kudos to her for actually doing her homework. Yeah, I think much to your point, Destructor, TMRO has a slightly better design chops, I think, in regard to like some of those graphics and whatnot.
Right.
We might be able to just provide those for her. We might almost be able to also help her on some of the sound issues and whatnot. Really bolster that up, get rid of some of the echoiness, and then she can use that to improve her own stuff as what, because something all ships. So, help her do her thing, and then also bring that in as a new, interesting thing for the TMRO shows that I think would hopefully add something of value. Yeah, there you go. All right, so yeah, I'm getting definitely pursue this. Certainly not a guarantee at this time. I don't know if it's going to be with her, but I think it would be a fun segment. So even if it's not with her, if we needed to, we could do a green screen in studio and we could do it ourselves. But I don't think we have anyone who's a solar expert on staff. So I don't know that we have anyone who would be able to do what she's doing without a great deal of training. And like, it would take us a lot longer to ramp up into that than it would if we just say, hey, please do this for us. So, yeah. And Astro YYZ, she's pretty famous in Aura circles. So some crossover there. Yeah, and I'm always a big fan of crossover. That's the whole point of like our science shows, which leads us quite brilliantly into my next topic, which is why we're crossed. By the way,
are you talking and not hitting buttons?
I'm laughing and not hitting buttons. You
Okay.
don't need to hear me laugh.
Double checking.
Lisa, I think you can come in here now if you want. Do I have the right version of the software on this computer? No dying.
Wait, you mean switcher software? So she could have been sitting here this whole time hitting buttons?
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said? Didn't I say that earlier?
Hey, can I just bring up the ATEM software and press social?
Kind of. The problem is my
So
the
you could
software.
have been in here hitting the buttons here the whole time?
Kind of.
I swear I said that.
No, because there was some audio in some of those clips.
Okay.
So no.
There was audio in some of those clips?
We were just listening to
Space
Space
Weather.
Weather.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I've heard it like 8 million times, I guess. By now I just feel like I memorized it.
Not as cool as your space weather grandma.
No, yeah. Where was that woman? I gotta find her again. She was amazing.
that was hilarious. Let me see if I can find. So the problem is the version of ATEM software I have on here mismatches with the switcher, and I don't want to update because this is linked to Company X's stuff. So
That's right.
Can I download it on my computer? That would work.
yes, but I don't remember what version you need. What I'm trying to do is copy it from, if I can. Anyhow, I'm not sure it's that important. So you may have noticed that I haven't been on the show for a while, although I've been in studio. Carrie Ann hasn't been on the show for a couple of weeks, although part of that was because she's sick.
I was really sick. It was really bad.
With that. Alley Cat wants to know about your socks.
They're unicorns!
Oh, also, JC Warp says you need to fire the bubbles. It's just raining soap on my face.
This is the best day ever.
All right, hang on. I'm going to make a quick change to the iMac Pro.
How did I find that the last time? Really amazing.
Would you find the last
Oh my goodness, I need to cough again.
The grandmother.
Let me mute myself.
All right, go into sharing.
A space weather phone. There it is.
Screen sharing, that's what I was using.
Where's the...
Destructor 1701, while I'm walking back, you like that other camera angle that was more dead on in the newsroom? We actually purposely don't do that because we sometimes have guests and people on this side that we don't really want to show. So that angle was, I don't want to say carefully chosen,
Earth-orbiting satellites have just detected a significant solar flare. This means that radiation storms and radio blackouts are possible.
Thank Grandma.
JC Warp. Yeah, pretty much.
So good. I'm seriously considering this one. Like, seriously considering spending $6 a month on this because I think that is so incredible. This is a good one, too.
The International Space Station is about to make a visible flyby over your location. About 2 hours after you get this message. The ISS is very bright, like Venus or Jupiter. Check your email inbox for details of the flyby.
I mean, hopefully you
To
check
be
your
sure
phone
you see
within
it,
2 hours,
pull
otherwise you
out a
miss
few
it.
minutes early to let your eyes adjust to the darkness.
Oh my god. So good.
You just snorted.
Because she finds it hilarious, that's why. So why are we cross-training everyone? Is that the point that we're up to in the
Oh my god.
rundown?
Amazing.
We're up to cross-training, yeah,
Yeah.
in the rundown.
So I push buttons now, and I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Make the show go.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
Beep-boop, 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 bop.
Yeah, yeah. It
All right,
goes exactly.
if you can push things to the screen, I can do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How'd you manage to do that?
I had to remote into another computer. Actually, if I size this down and move it over, maybe I can. Oh, crap. That's not going to be a thing. I'll just move this over. I don't really even need to see it, right? I just have to hit spacebar. Although I do like JC Warp's comment, which is all 8-year-olds at the Magic Kingdom laugh just like Mini Stoge.
Yeah.
So, Destructor, the windows do look cool. The windows do look cool. I don't disagree. But remember, you gotta put the hologram back in there, and then you need to kind of adjust some of the lights. It's not going to look like that when it's all said and done. And then I'm going to have a lot of people out over here, and we kind of don't want to show all of that all the time. It's very Kubrickian. Stanley Kubrick. Yes, what you also like is the
I said that.
Yeah, we lined up.
It was good. It was like get the whole thing.
Yeah, we lined up the sound, the acoustic paneling, so it's actually quite even across
Such a
the walls.
pain in the ass to do, too.
It was a okay, Dad. I'll look into it. How's that? All right, so we're cross-training everyone. Part of that is because at Company X, there's going to be an absurd number of launches this year, which means I'm going to be stupid busy. And so I have to be able to not be here, but still have shows happen, which means everything that I do, I need to be able to make sure that other people can do. So we have been cross-training everyone on every role. You can take over Dudda's position. So there are now 3 of us who can technically direct the show. You did, in fact, the entire last show was you, top to bottom. Basically, Dudda was sitting in here the entire
I think
time.
I've only been learning for not very long.
Yeah, it's only been a couple weeks.
So, yeah?
Yeah.
3 weeks?
Yeah, and it's a moderately complex show, especially in news.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, specifically the cold open.
All the automation helps, though.
Yeah, that definitely helps. So, and thank you PSN for a lot of that.
Yep.
And a stupidly high number of late night coffee fueled sessions. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to cross-train and all of that. The other thing it lets me do is kind of sit back and watch the show, figure out things that...
Really? Really, Destructor? Really?
Yeah, really? I mean,
to be fair, a lot of the technical issues, like all those audio drops, were not my fault.
yeah, that was actually... for
All of them.
Every single one.
Every
single
last
one?
of them. Mm-hmm. To be fair, what she did was not an audio drop. So, yes, that statement still holds true.
Okay.
It never came up, so therefore could not have dropped.
Anyhow.
Not saying. Just saying.
Yeah. So a lot of cross-training. You're going to... I don't need to wear this anymore, technically. Oh. Ow.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
Should I get one of those?
An IFB? Maybe. They're not actually pleasant.
The amount of sounds you guys make about it, I don't know if I want one, but...
The great things about so these are custom internal fold-back monitors. You can't see it, but they're custom. We have ear molds made of our ear. They actually slide into the ear canal and make a solid, what I want to say, solid connection. Like they seal up the entire ear. Mm-hmm. The advantage of that is
you don't hear jack anything else.
You don't hear anything out of that ear other than the show. So you get really great focused audio for the show, and it's an in-ear driver. And so when the wire is run correctly, it's basically hidden. You don't have any coils or anything that you can see. So they look really, really nice. The thing is, having something in your ear canal for like 2 hours straight is annoying. You're fine for like 20 minutes, maybe 30, and then it just starts to get really annoying. So, yeah.
This one. Mac Malachi.
Yeah.
Have a great big beautiful tomorrow.
Screen.
Yeah, there's that too. Great big beautiful tomorrow only exists at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. It doesn't exist at Disneyland.
Yeah, I've never heard that line because I've never been to Magic Kingdom.
She has no idea. It doesn't
Have a great big beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. It's a great big beautiful tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Not have a great big beautiful tomorrow.
Sure.
And tomorrow's just a dream away. All right.
Yep.
So yes, cross-training. The other advantage is for our new hosts like Athena and Jade, it gives them an opportunity to get in front of the camera more because this is a learned skill. This is not something that you can just like study for. Like I don't know how else to explain that other than you have to do it to get good at it and become comfortable with the camera, become comfortable with the people.
And thankfully they are like ridiculously quick studies, much like Lisa. They're way better than I ever have been. Ever.
I have been, I think I mentioned this yesterday or the day before, but I inadvertently tortured Athena by giving her all of the news one time. It was an obscene amount of work that I gave her all at once.
It's like 3 people's jobs.
It was like 3 people's jobs. And she was able to deal with it just fine, which was awesome. We've also had her run the Capcom role. We've had her run the host role. We've had her run the news role. So I think she's actually gone through every major non-technical position. Mm-hmm. Wait, no, she has
Except
not
for
done
hologram.
the. No, she has not. She hasn't done the. Oh, yeah, she did the interview role. Yeah, she hasn't done the hologram. We don't need her to do a hologram though.
Like launches? Like otherwise it's just news, yeah?
No, I meant literally become the hologram.
Nobody needs to literally.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, I do want to, I think Jade, the only role Jade hasn't,
Jade hasn't done an interview yet.
She hasn't done Capcom yet either.
No.
Yeah, we need to get Jade in here a little bit more often, I think. We were going to bring her in this week. Yeah.
WonderCon.
Yeah, WonderCon got in the way. So we'll bring her in more and more, which means you're going to see not a whole lot of me over the next several months, simply as we're training everyone. I am here. I am doing things, but I'm not on the air. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though. I want to be a hologram. Actually, I will say the hologram's hard because you have latency to do. So you're doing everything you're doing now, plus you have to deal with the latency, and then you have to figure out, like, where to look off in the ether.
I've had to do that a few times. It is freaking hard.
It's really hard.
He's so good at it.
Yeah, it was Astro YYZ. It was nice to see Mike in studio. Yeah, I want to bring him in more. We're not going to bring him in every week, but we can definitely do more with him. Yeah, I think. JC Warp Wheel Space Mike be in studio more. Yeah, I also want to send Space Mike to space conferences. So ISDC, and I'm not going to name them all. Just a bunch of conferences. And get interviews like in the hallways of really cool people and just talk to them for a little bit. And then we'll make those into space pods or some cool little segment of just a neat little blurb of data that you otherwise wouldn't normally get.
Yeah.
So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I love just hollow emitter. Motham loved just hollow emitter. That was from Vax Headroom, I believe. Vax built that
Vax
for
sent
him.
that to him.
Yeah, and he does do. Actually, you know who else does surprisingly well at interviews is Jared. So I've always known. It sounds terrible. I've always known Mike would do good interviews because that's how we met him. Right? We met him doing interviews. We know for a fact he does great interviews. That's why we brought him on, right? So, yeah.
And then promptly never gave him another interview.
And then told him, yeah, you go talk about rockets. Yeah.
Which he does great as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that, that
It's
is.
really nice to have all this variety.
Here was the second one. Can you see that?
Amazing. Yeah, it's gonna be
Is you're just dripping
wallpaper.
soap on me. I'm waiting for you to run out.
I'll just make more.
Alley Cat asks, what's the chance that Lisa could book Elon for an interview? As long as you're not talking about Elon Musk, it's a very high chance.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty great at booking CEO of rocket companies. Spoiler alert. Not gonna break who that is, but I'm great at booking guests. Just saying.
Yeah, you are far better at it than I ever was. Like, really good. So, congratulations. You now own that.
You worked your way into a job.
Yeah, sure.
Yay,
what do
got
you
a
want?
promotion.
I mean, they're all fake jobs here anyway.
They are all fake jobs here anyway.
Well, sort of.
Oh, that's true. Not really, yeah. We do have 2 real jobs here. All right. I lost my rundown.
Next is me.
Oh, so cross-training, get everyone comfortable with the camera, and then also get everyone comfortable with the community, which is you, and their co-hosts as well. So you're not going to see...
Yeah, a lot of these people didn't know each other before we brought them on and threw them on camera and said, hey, talk to each other like it's totally normal.
Have fun.
Which, Ben and I had the benefit, star, of knowing each other before we started. It is one of the things that Ben and I have, is our conversational skills with one another. I think we're both relatively entertaining when we try. And
Even when we don't try.
No, when we try. You have to try harder, of course. It's different when you do know each other, and you know each other well enough to be able to push each other's buttons, and you know how to support the other person, et cetera, et cetera. Or when you're being ignored, which is totally fine too.
I'm listening to you.
I didn't say you weren't listening.
I was going to bubble your face.
I would punch you on camera.
I know.
You're sitting to my right.
Yeah, it doesn't bode well for me.
Anyhow, but that's something that Ben and I had initially when we started the show, and it's something that every other person who has joined the show has had to learn, and it's not easy. And throughout the other nice thing about with Ben and I having done it for as long as we have, is that besides the idea of being able to recognize talent in somebody else and where they are better than we are, or at least try to help grow that talent to a point where they are better than we are or ever have been. The other part of that, though, is Ben and I have worked diligently to create these sort of archetypes for the show. So there is the sort of Ben character. There is the sort of Carrie Ann character that doesn't necessarily always understand anything. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that I really don't understand. Famously, and Athena, I'm not picking on you. I want to be very clear about that. Your story about the cosmic donuts, I still don't understand any of it, and I tried. I will say that. I shouldn't say any of it. There are very, very small, minute details that I did eventually understand. But I was reading along with you and still couldn't make sense of most of what was going on. So that comes from a very natural place of me just simply not having a good concept of a lot of space things. But that is a role that is still relatively necessary, even if you do understand. There's a lot of people in our audience that don't have such a broad spectrum of understanding of a lot of different space things, whether it be a conceptual thing or an actual nuts and bolts sort of thing. So that role still is necessary. But so is Ben's role. So is Ben's role of continually being the grounding force for whatever conversation is going on. There are times that I know that I've stepped into the role when Ben's not around because it's not. Somebody even mentioned, I think it was this last week, about well, what happened to the parents? Why are the kids running the show? And there's nothing wrong with the new people running the show and bringing your own personalities and bringing your own thoughts and feelings and directions towards what's going on. But there is something to be said about having a singular pull of, okay, great, so that's cool. Now we need to move on and continue forward, as opposed to it can look as though, and I don't mean this offensively, but it can look as though there are children fighting when somebody has an opinion and says some stuff and somebody else goes, okay, well, why don't we move on? But then somebody else says, well, yeah, but I would just want to, okay, but I just want to, okay, but and I was going to say that can feel, there is a need to find a place of, great, this is great that there is more conversation here, but we need to continue on to a different part of the conversation. And if you like that conversation, please feel free to have it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think we're still searching for is the new Ben, right? So
yeah, that's a very difficult role.
We filled all of the other roles, but we do need someone who can be a bit of a dick on the show and be like, no, we're moving on.
Everyone is still getting to know each other, though, and everyone is still trying to be nice to one another, which is fantastic. Please do. We don't need 6 Bens on the show.
I like this comment. Tomorrow, the next generation.
Somebody made an image way back in 2016 in October with that caption and cut out our faces in Photoshop of the Uber episode where everyone was here.
Nice.
And made a poster. I don't know who it was. Somebody found that image and
No, I mean, you're not wrong. So that is a role we still need to kind of fill, but that role...
It should come about
harder.
naturally.
Yeah, it will, but it will take a lot of time because we need, it's not just the host, it's everyone. It's different for me because I have a commanding presence isn't the right word, but
you're fat. We got it.
I'm fat, and that's really what it means. No. I started the show. I dictate what's happening in the show.
Yes.
I'm clearly I'm the one who's making these decisions. There is no argument on that.
Right.
And so when we're in the middle of stuff and I'm like, no, we're moving on, I'm the decider.
Yeah.
And everyone has agreed that I'm the decider.
Yeah.
If anyone other than me is doing that and is in that role, they're not the decider.
Right.
So it's 2 parts. It's one part, whoever takes my role has to realize that, no, in this specific
because
instance,
it
they
very
are the
much
decider.
so is that role. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it's not just based off of a lot of really great personalities that really work really well together. That's important for sure, that you can work well together, that you can speak intelligently about what you're trying to talk about. You can continue the conversation and not just go, hey, yeah, the sun, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. Because that's not interesting at all. You have to be able to have a little bit of conversation, and sometimes that includes conflict, but you also need to have the role of, okay, that's fantastic, we need to move forward.
Right.
I feel like with science, and even I guess in space, the way to kind of have that role is if you have an understanding of what's going on in the whole show, if you've seen the whole rundown, you know what everyone's going to be talking about, you know what's coming up next, you kind of know how you want things to flow through the show, and you know if you're spending too much time on one thing and another thing, or you know that there's something really more interesting coming up, so we should hurry up and talk about that instead.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do that in science, but I don't know if I...
You're doing a really decent job of it. It's one of the reasons that, I realize that this is a lot of background conversation anyway, but even more so, a little bit more aimed at the hosts themselves. So, Athena, I'm talking to you.
By the way, this is what happens behind the scenes. Have you ever wanted to see what happens behind the scenes on a show?
It's one of the motivations for making sure that whoever is taking on the Capcom role, specifically for the comments section of the show, that they are the ones who choose the comments. Because if the show is running really long and you decided you needed to fill out 5 comments, because we kind of try to fill out 5 comments.
Well, hang on. We haven't executed on that particular. So we've talked about doing that, but we haven't executed on that yet.
Right.
But that's where we're going to get to. But
right.
Yes.
The idea is, though, that if you filled out 5 comments, the show is running long, you had a really amazing conversation about one comment, and the other comments are kind of okay, but you know for sure that there's one other comment you want to get to, then that is you, and that is your role, and that is your time to go, okay, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to make sure we talk to this one. And you do that one. And then if you are done with that, and that's fantastic, you don't have to do the other comments, all of that other stuff. But knowing what those comments are, knowing how important they are to the conversation or not important to the conversation, if they work, if they don't work, feeling that out is something that role insists upon. Does that make sense?
One thing I've tried to do with the other weeks where I've been making the comments is kind of ordering them in order of which ones are most, to my opinion, important to talk about and which ones we could probably skip.
Right.
I think it's more important that the person who does that is the person who's going to be reading them, because on the day, they're the ones that get to make that call.
Right, because I think that when you're in that role and you haven't picked out the comments, and that's totally happened to me. Dutta sometimes has picked out the comments because I've been sick or I've been too busy. Ben has picked out comments sometimes, even though I'm the one who's reading them. And I realize about halfway through that I'm like, I have no idea where I am. I have no idea where I'm going. I have no idea how to get from one to the next. I don't know if this is okay or not. And it becomes a lot more difficult. If you do it yourself, then you have a much better understanding of all of those separate points. Sometimes you can even put them in some sort of order that you think they relate to each other, because sometimes there'll be 2 completely different comments from 2 totally different people, 2 totally different sites that are really similar, but different enough that you want to include both of them. There's a lot of those different choices that Capcom has to make in order to help that section move smoothly.
Yeah.
And granted, it doesn't always move smoothly. And there are times when you think a comment is going to be fantastic and it's complete crap. But at least then you know, and you can still take ownership over that and be like, okay, so apparently I don't know either. All right, we're just going to move on. But that's what that part of that role for that section does. And it's really difficult to explain. It's much easier to do it, but
that's why we're doing all of this. That's why we're doing this cross-training. That's why we're also learning interesting things about each role and like the necessity of what each person does.
I think there's a lot of things that like you and I have experimented on throughout the years. And we've sort of boiled it down to these sorts of things without having actually said it out loud before.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting exercise for you
now
and
that
I.
Because you have to pass it on, you have to verbalize what you've learned.
Right. So the chat room has been talking about the next generation stuff. So here's that image that was created.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Oh, that is good.
Also, there was a comment earlier. It was sorry, I just kind of screwed everything up.
Although it's hard to tell, is Jared the evil one or is Mike the evil one in that particular scenario?
Maybe we're Oli.
So earlier they were talking about getting Elon on, and Mac actually said, I prefer to get Gwen Shotwell on. I would tend to agree. I don't. Elon is an interesting interview if you can get him to talk about the future in a way that he hasn't already talked about it before. Otherwise, he's going to regurgitate everything he's already said.
Yeah.
There was that one thing about an airplane, I feel like he said once. Oh, wait, that's right. We've all heard that a million times.
Right. So, but Tom Mueller, Gwen Shotwell, Hans, I can't pronounce Hans.
I cannot pronounce his last name.
I think we'll all be incredible interviews for the show, and that will happen, unfortunately, the 12th of November.
Yeah. I have to use a potty, so I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty great at booking interviews, so just give me like 6 months. I got this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, Dutta hosted that show. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
See, we started the cross training way back then.
Notham says they say teaching is the best way to learn. Yeah. Actually, we've learned a great deal about the show and like what is working, what isn't working, and like how to make it better. And that's one thing to also understand is I'm always striving to make the show better. So sometimes in that effort, I will make it worse. But my goal is to learn what I have screwed up and figure out how to either turn it around and make it work or just slice that off and not do that anymore. So, and it's, as I said earlier, it's all of the things, right? It's the technology, it's the visuals, it's the content. I feel like we've got the technology and the visuals fairly down now. I mean, there's still tweaks that I want to do. Planet Calf, I would love to upgrade, but things we can deal with later. Right now, I'm really focused on the hosts and the content and creating compelling stories and compelling media for you guys and a compelling community, right? So making sure that we're talking about things and then pulling your comments back into it at the same time, getting that two-way communication. I mean, otherwise, what the hell's the point of doing this show live? Right? What was the point of doing it? We'll just edit a bunch of really cool things together, take this 90-minute show, make it 30 minutes, because we can throw out a bunch of stuff that we don't need, make it a really polished show, and off you go. I think we would suck the soul out of the show in doing that.
That's what makes us different. That's what sets us apart, and that's what's really unique about the show, and I think why it's so cool, and why we can have such a great community. So, no dying.
Yep, no dying. Rule number 1. Also, Colton says we're going to need more chat moderators. Yeah, probably. Hopefully, as we get bigger, we are growing very slowly. And I'll talk out both sides of my mouth on this one. I'm not super worried with the number of views that we get or with the number of subscriptions that we have. If we have, I would prefer have 100 extremely dedicated, passionate people watching the show that get something out of it, as opposed to 100,000 people who don't care, who are just passively watching and will never do anything with anything that they've learned. I'll take that 100 over 100,000 any day of the week. However, there's something about seeing 100,000 views on your video. Or 100,000
cool.
subscribers. Yeah, it's definitely ego boosting, right? It makes you feel better.
Yeah.
So I do like that part of it too. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't like to see those numbers. I do like to see those numbers, but if I see those numbers, I best see engagement that goes with it. Otherwise, if I see the numbers but I see no engagement, then I've failed. I haven't done a good job. Or if I see poor engagement in the wrong direction, then I still have failed and I haven't done this correctly. So, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Where does the priority for the comments set fall?
Below the priority for a science set, I believe.
I don't understand the question. Where does the priority for the comments set? Oh, the set for comments.
Yes.
Right, I understand.
Not the set of comments.
Yeah, so the original plan was 3 sets.
Wait, you do mean the end section?
Yeah.
You mean the set itself or the section of the show?
I assume you meant the set itself.
The set for that section of the show, which is also kind of something, I think.
Now we have to wait.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
Well, go with what you're saying.
Assuming you were talking about the physical set, like we're sitting on a set right now, and we don't have a unique set for comments, and we were supposed to. It takes a really long time to design and build these, especially with our budget of negative money. The section of the show, the comments section.
Here, let me say really quickly. The comments section to us is everything. Okay. The news is kind of there because it's one of the foundations of the show. But we initially did news and launches because we wanted to get the word out about launches. But the news stuff sort of came in because we needed to fill out the show. One of the more important parts has always been interviews, because we want to get interesting interviews and be able to take interesting projects and people who are working on interesting projects and bring that to more people. And so I guess in my mind, the priority of how interesting or how important the three main segments of the show is the interview first to me, then the comments, and then the news. Because the news, honestly, you can source yourself. The launches, you can basically source yourself. I understand that we're all busy. And so it's kind of a pain in the butt to try and source all of that information, but it doesn't mean that you can't, and it doesn't mean that there aren't other websites that are already doing it for you. I don't know, space.com, for instance. There are plenty of websites that are already aggregating a lot of information for you so that you can read it in one spot or see it in one spot or what have you. We don't need to do that as well. However, it's been one of the pieces that has help fill out the show. It gives us another segment, for lack of a better word, even though I'm really starting to hate that word. It gives us another area to be a point of reference for people, if that makes any sense. But the comments section, to me, is one of the most important parts because it's coming from you guys. It's us interacting with you live yet not live, right? Because if we already have the conversation with the interview and then you were like, oh, I really wanted to ask this question too, or I really wanted to say this, or I really wanted to what have you, that's your opportunity to still continue to add your voice to a show that isn't live anymore. And that's everything to me, honestly. The deal is that sometimes you guys don't comment. And so there's not a whole lot to do or to say with it. Or sometimes, and I love these too, sometimes the comments are like, oh, wow, you guys did a really great job. And that's fantastic, but we can't have 5 of those. That's boring.
I mean, we can, but it's boring.
It's boring. It's really, really boring. I would rather have interesting, thought-provoking comments and questions so we can have interesting conversations with you in the continuing manner, if that helps.
So JC Warp did clarify a little bit. We are talking about physical sets, right? I thought there was a discussion about during the station creation, there's going to be a set where more people are going to have roundtable discussions. So the set we're on right now with the Planet Calf behind us and whatnot is kind of designed for those roundtable discussions. We're missing the stage portion of the set. And then much to your point earlier, JC Warp, is there was supposed to be a comment set. The comment set's on indefinite hold because at the time we hadn't actually fully planned on bringing on science instead. Where the comment set was going to go is now where science set is likely going to go, which is basically over there. I mean, you can't see it, but it goes in a corner over there.
We can move the camera.
There's just simply, we can in a bit. There's just simply not enough room. We have 2,001 square feet, and there's just not enough room. A lot of that stairwell. Yeah, a lot of that stairwell. There's not enough room to have, 3 independent sets.
Actually, 2,001 square feet?
There's literally 2,001 square feet.
That's amazing.
I know.
Is that why you got this place?
No.
It did not hurt. It is not the main reason, but it did not hurt.
As soon as he heard that, he was basically locked in.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
So, anyhow. The comment set is going to be on the back burner. We're going to build science first. Science isn't even designed yet. I just, quite literally yesterday, after the show, we had the crew out for some food, and I basically turned to Doug and I'm like, just so you know, this is going to start to become a thing now. We need to start to design this thing. And he begrudgingly said, maybe. So, so that's where we're at.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Which brings us to science. So let's do a quick update. Well, actually, before we get into science, what's happening with cities? Cities, I call it on permanent hiatus.
JC Warp.
That's funny.
It's amazing.
I heard Blue Origin killed cities.
Not a untruth.
There are a couple things. So Cities was an experiment. We learned a lot from Cities. I don't want to say Cities is dead because I don't think it is. However, I don't foresee it coming back at this time because where Cities worked is because of Chris Radcliffe and his passion for next generation cities and transportation and things like that. And until I find 3 or 4 additional hosts with that same knowledge base and passion, and this is, like way out there kind of thing.
An interest.
And there may be those people, but I need to find those people. And what I learned with Cities is I need to find those people in the Southern California area so that they can come to the studio. Until I find those people, I don't see a way to restart cities. It might turn into Tomorrow Transit instead, but I have issues with Tomorrow Transit too. I just don't see there being enough topics. It just doesn't work the same way that science or even potentially tech will. So for now, assume that it's permanently shut down. See, it's just not
Permanent hiatus.
It's on a extended hiatus, and it may come back in a few years. But it's not going to come back anytime soon. Now, the great thing is about cities is that, we learned what does work and doesn't work with remote hosting. We learned like what we need to do from a talent standpoint. We learned a lot of stuff from cities to help make science a success. So I'm going to turn it over to science in a moment, which will be Lisa. But then even from there, we learned a lot also with science and like what needed to be done and what I didn't understand about starting up science that I'm going to then apply to tech when we're ready to do that. And I'll talk about tech after science. What are you doing?
Sorry.
You've got a website that's unique and looks gorgeous. For professional text and
Hi, Justine.
made for
I just clicked on the link that Carrie had put in the chat.
Because you don't remember Tomorrow Cities somehow magically? And got iJustine of all people. It's fantastic.
All right. No dying. So, what have we learned with science? Or do you want me to take it?
So, science has come so far in such a short amount of time, but I think it has a way to go. So, what we want to do with science is we want to make it more down to earth, because what we're doing at the moment, I think, is spitting out all this cool data about these science research stories, but we're not kind of reaching the people that are like, why should I care about this story? Like, I think we really need to hammer home that as like the one thing that we want to do with science. Why should people care? So I think we can work on that, and we're going to continually keep working on that and make that better. And maybe that's training, and maybe that's the way that we tackle our news. I think one thing that is going to help is getting scientists on for interviews and doing interviews with scientists, which starting in May we will have. I've booked May, I've booked June. I'm very much trying to book the 31st of March, but I have about a week to do it, so we'll see how that goes.
Those are the worst. Those are the hardest. When you're in that same week trying to book a guest for that week,
Yeah.
because they can tell that you're desperate at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this whole week I was meant to be devoting to getting a guest for March 31st, and then sickness happened. So
Thanks, Carrie Ann. What?
anyway. Yeah, so I think that that's definitely going to help, and it's because it's going to be like the first time that we have, a scientist on to interview, and I think it's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be a different dynamic than the roundtables that we've been having. So I'm excited for that and how that kind of changes the show. And
Yeah, I don't think the show's bad. So, Malcolm's saying, I think this section you did on animal testing was very well rounded and relevant. I don't think the show's bad. I just, just like as we look at space and we're like, how can we improve space? What can we do better? What can we do better? Science is so new. We took space's format and we
Yeah.
said, let's just use that as a starting point. And we did okay.
it just needs tweaks, I think.
Yeah,
I think
it just
that's-
needs some tweaks. And I think, I think like you nailed it. We just need to start with the why on everything that we do on science, because science has a lot more data, and you can go into the weeds on a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And I think if we just pull ourselves out of the weeds and just go, okay, here's why you care. If you want to get the data, maybe that's where the SciPods come in. I think we talked about that
Yeah.
this last week as well. We're going to do the same thing for space. We're going to keep the news stories very high level. Here's why you care about news for space. And then for those really detailed things where Mike wants to go into the nitty gritty, here's the amount of torque you put on that bolt. Sure, but that happens in a space pod, not in the live show proper. So that can happen in the SciPods too.
I think another thing that's happening is that, like, in space, if we're having like a round table or if we're in news or something, we usually give that kind of just high level stuff of why should you care, because it's usually the chat room coming in with those questions about those deep dives in the data. But the audience that we have right now for science is mostly our space audience, which doesn't necessarily have the background knowledge on science that goes with the stories that we're doing. So they can't ask those questions with that background understanding of the science and the data behind it. And I think once we reach that science background audience, I think we're going to see a lot of difference in how the chat room is interacting with us on science, and that's going to steer the conversation in different ways. So
I think one of the other things we need to do is reach to different groups that we're used to reaching, right? So we have the default groups that we go out to on Reddit and Facebook and whatnot and be like, hey, cool show. You know, if we talk about SpaceX, I'll reach out to /r/SpaceX and be like, just so you know, at this time marker, we talked about Biffer or whatever it is. But I don't think we have those same resources, or we don't know what those resources are yet for science. Science is also going to be trickier because the space community is moderately forgiving on things. Like, we're all just excited, and we're excited that you're excited about going to space.
Yeah.
The science community can just be sometimes vicious. Like, you get anything wrong at all, and you are a terrible human being, and you don't belong to be in this industry. It's like, well, wait, what? Where did that come from? I'm over-exaggerating slightly, but we need to be careful of the that mentality of you have to be part of our in-crowd, our academic something, our whatever, in order to be allowed to speak about these topics.
And that's one of the things that I really wanted to break down with Tomorrow Science in general. It's like it's bringing scientists out of their ivory towers and out of their labs and making them accessible to anyone that wants to watch. That's kind of why I was so excited to get Tomorrow Science started in the first place. And I think bringing scientists in to have interviews is going to help with that, and the ability for us to let anyone ask questions of those scientists will help. And the more we do it, and the bigger we get, and the more well known we are for being people that make scientists more accessible to everybody, the more I think we're going to break down you're not in the in crowd, so...
Yeah, just like space, this is a similar issue that space kind of used to have, especially before New Space, which was, oh, you're not part of the elite, whatever, so you don't belong here.
Yeah.
And a bunch of us were like, that's stupid. This is cool and fun for everyone. Alley Cat asks, would it help to host science on a Sunday so it targets science people rather than space? No, I think so. Understand it is a little bit backwards right now. The whole point of science is to get people excited about space. That's why we have the science show, because science seems like there are a bunch of people who are maybe science nerds or interested in science that maybe aren't as interested in space as they should be. So the goal is to use the science as a way to be like, also, did you know? And then kind of feed them a little bit of space and give them an avenue to get to tomorrow's space. That's the point of scientists. By the way, also the point of tech, right? Low-hanging fruit. Tech geeks are generally space geeks. They just don't know it yet. So, So the idea is to, create these shows where we can have a good tech show that's a little bit different than what you get from like Leo Laporte or Chris Pirillo or anyone else like that. It has that community base behind it. But then it also helps the tech geeks that maybe didn't really care about space, didn't know too much about it. Maybe they've heard of SLS, but not much more. To bring them over to the dark side of space. Dark side of the Force is cooler. And go from there. So that's kind of the idea.
The other thing is, as it stands right now, if we did science on a Sunday to avoid the space audience, I don't know how many people would actually watch, because I think the majority of our audience right now is our Tomorrow Space people. Mm-hmm. So
I'm not, and I kind of go back and forth on that. Maybe that's okay if we break our way, but I think having the space people there gives us a community user base, and it gives us, it bolsters up the audience, so when we get new science people coming in, they see a bigger audience there and they go, oh, there's something here.
Yeah.
As opposed to seeing like no one there and going, why am I here? Right? So it's easier when you come with a larger foundation. So for now, I think it actually does make sense to have it after space. And I do actually think space nerds are also science nerds too. It's just, we're cooler than just pure science nerds. That's how that works.
That's totally how that works,
That's how
apparently.
that works. Yep, that's how that works.
The other thing that we need to do in science, we've mentioned this a couple times, I think, but we need something. So, with space, we have the calendar break, which fits well, and now potentially space weather. we need something like that for science, but we don't know what that is, and we want to put that as our first ad break. I've been racking my brains trying to like think of something that's neat that could go in there, but I'm coming up empty. Like I don't have something neat that can be put in there once a month. I don't know, maybe it's like a monthly science update. Maybe it's like I got nothing. I absolutely have nothing. Maybe it's a stream of the plants cut into like highlights of this month's plant growing thing. I don't know. Something sciencey that could go in there that people would like look forward to.
If you have an idea, email lisa@tmro.tv. Open to anything that you might have. One of the thoughts was like an experiment based on like the episode number. So if you're on episode 1 is what, hydrogen? Figure out some experiment, like a 60-second experiment you can do with hydrogen. No.
Well, we were just watching Mr. Wizard the other day. You did the thing with the hydrogen and explode.
No.
Be
No.
fun. Science history, yeah, that could work.
Yeah, that's not a bad. So.
But then also, like, our show is about the future. So, I don't know.
Interesting comment from Motham, which is, some of us are just geeks full stop and love to geek out on anything. Yeah, actually I think a lot of us are, right? So the people who are interested in, that's the whole point, right? Is that maybe you're a tech, you identify as a tech geek, but I think I can make you, like, a tech geek is generally going to be interested in space too, but they might view themselves as a tech geek. I think I can swing their pendulum a little bit over and be like, okay, actually, no, maybe I'm more of a space geek than a tech geek. Really get them interested in stuff like that. I think the more people interested in exploring the cosmos, the better for the industry as a whole. I firmly believe that. Because then people are going to vote based on on what they think, right? So, something. Recently in science history, says Toby. That's an interesting one.
I like Alley Cat.
There you go.
What about a page that lists journal publications that came out the previous month? I'm going to take that idea and tweak it. But one thing that we have with science is that because it's once a month and we only do like 4 to 6 news stories, like that's so much science that we're not doing for news. Like it's really hard to pick what news stories you want to do because there's always so much science news out there. We can't cover all of it. So what if we had a thing that's like, here's our list of 5 science publications that you should read that came out in the last month. It'd be like a curated list or something. I don't know, because a lot of people have asked, like in the comments of previous science shows, like, can you give us links for more information? So I've like started listing the links to the actual scientific papers that we've been pulling our news stories from for science, so that people can actually go back and read the actual papers themselves. So maybe we could do that. That might work because that's showing some more cool science people can get excited about.
Yeah. It's a good idea. That's one break. I'd love to get something for both breaks if we can.
Always move the goalposts. It's fine.
Keeps it fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Is the plan to move to bi-monthly or even weekly science shows? The plan was always to move to weekly science shows.
Yeah.
However,
some of us don't live in the US yet.
Even so, oh my God, it's so much work. So that actually is where the cross-training comes into play again, because having the crew do both of those shows in one day is exhausting. It is a lot of work. Like, coming up with just the space show, I think we make it look pretty easy, but it is actually a great deal of work that everyone puts into that show at each and every week. Making everyone do twice that is too big of an ask. So we need to make it so that we can, once space is done, we can have a little bit of just a slight after dark. Maybe we push science 1 hour later, and then we have a new cast and crew come in, completely fresh, completely new, completely different, new technical director, new hosts, new all of it, come in and do science. Then we might be able to go to weekly. That means we're going to need a few more people, I think, on both sides, so that we can have, I like the idea that right now anyone can host any show.
Yeah.
I think I need a couple more people, 1 or 2 maybe. Not enough time for...
Yeah, Colton. Truth.
Ultimately, that's the problem. Not enough Disney time at that point. No, it's... Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make it work. But we just gotta. We need a couple more people.
Yeah. But
think we'll be okay.
for now, I think we need to hone in the science shows, really come up with, like, the space shows, we've got a format that seems to work fairly well.
Yeah.
And I agree with Carrie Ann's, like, I think the most important part is the interview, followed by comments, and then the news is actually the least important part. And it's funny, I've thought that
It's
for
the
a
most
while,
work.
and the news is one of the most work, and then we actually tried moving it later in the show, because I'm like, this is stupid to have up front. We should put the most important, we should put the interview up front. It honors the time of our guest a little bit more, and it's the most important part of the show, so it should be up front. So we tried that.
We got yelled at.
We didn't just get yelled at, it feels wrong. The show actually feels disjointed when you do that.
Yeah.
And I kind of come to the determination it does, by putting news up front, it does two things. One, it actually gives the the guest a moment to understand who we are and our personalities. So they kind of can absorb, like, even though it's kind of wasting
Hang
their
on.
time.
Have we tried doing cold open interview news comments? Because last time that you tried to put interview first was before we even did cold opens, right?
We've always done cold opens. We just haven't done them live.
Well, yeah, the live one. The live.
It was the final show that felt weird. It does. I don't know why. I can't actually put my finger on it, but it feels weird when news is not up front. Like, it doesn't flow right. And I don't know. It's dumb because I totally agree. News is the least important part of the show. But
I think the thing is that news feels more immediate. Even if it's a news story only in the last week, there's something more immediate
There's more
about
urgency
news.
to it?
Urgency, yeah. And the interviews have a tendency to be a little bit more evergreen. Typically, you can go back and watch an interview a year later, and some of the information may not be correct or may not be up to date. But the interview, the feeling, the questions that were happening at the time still feel relevant. Whereas news doesn't have that same feeling to it. So you want to kind of like get the news stuff out of the way. You want it up front. You want to get through that urgency part of it and be done with it. I think our biggest problem, and it's a continual battle we fought for I don't even know how many years at this point, is that news has a tendency to go a little long. And so
this week, I feel like news this week was just something magical.
Yeah. Yeah, Athena did an
of, like-
amazing job of like really keeping that nice and tight.
not
with
only
that.
did she do a great job of keeping it tight, she also pushed back to the community
Yeah.
Better
multiple
than-
times
yeah.
and pulled that back in, which is exactly what I want in news. I
Yeah.
want that to be a conversation, not a standing up
That's
here and
one of the
dictating
first
to you.
times, probably in a while, that I felt that news was conversational.
It was really great. I liked it a lot.
And I think it helped that the length of the stories was significantly shorter this week than usual, but that meant that there was enough time to do
Yeah.
all that conversation.
No, they weren't. Well, oh, you mean the scripted stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the final story wasn't, but you're right. The scripted stories
yeah.
absolutely were.
As
yeah.
opposed to
We
being
need to do
5
that
minutes,
more.
we're only like
Yeah.
2 minutes,
Yeah.
2.5 minutes, 3
Totally.
minutes. Yeah, that was very, very helpful.
J.C. Warp has an interesting point, which is, the news may be the least important, but it's so important to get the conversation going. Yeah, it is. It's kind of the primer to the show, right? It gets the thing, everything going, and gets everyone prepped for the interview. It gets the
Yeah.
interviewer and interviewee kind of like on the same like plane of like thought. Like I said, I've never been able to actually quite put my finger on why it needs to be up front, and I tried to move it. Tried to move it at the end, I tried to move it in the middle, and nothing worked.
No, it
and
has to
so
go up
it has
front.
to go up front. And
The only other option is eliminating it, which I know nobody wants.
no, and I don't think that makes sense either. There is value to having that news there because, as it was brought up, I think by Destructor, you can find these news items out there. You can find these launches, but there isn't really a single place where you can find all of the launches. Right? So we are one of the only places where you can just go and whether it's China, Roscosmos, ESA, NASA, JAXA, it does not matter. We are a centralized place where, you know what, any launch that happened that last week, if it went up in the sky, chances are we talked about it. So that's somewhat unique to us. Colton wants to know what the weather's like. I don't know. We should ask our space weather correspondent. Yeah, an icebreaker. Exactly, JC Warp. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't think science is bad. I just think it needs it's new and needs love. It needs to find its own voice.
Yep.
I think is what it really needs at this point. Yeah,
Oh, that's a neat idea.
What?
We go no go poll prior to the show.
You know, it's funny. Mac, you brought that up. You said hold in the
When I messed up the.
which I thought was brilliant. Whether you intended to do it or not, or it was just a knee-jerk
came
reaction, I absolutely loved that because it felt like a space nerd show for space nerds by space nerds, and it was really, really, really great. And it made me think, you know, it would be kind of much along those same lines. That should be our normal vernacular for. We've
That's
got
what
a
I say in
problem.
everyday life. If like something goes wrong, I'm like, oh, hold, wait.
Neuropilot, flat earther rocket, did we cover that? No, it needs to actually be a rocket that goes above where an airplane would go. So, yeah. Yeah.
The biggest problem with our particular show is that even if we do a go no go poll, that doesn't necessarily
mean we're go.
accurately represent.
No, but I do. No, that's fair. But I do
Right?
ask.
Jared's gonna be like, go! No, wait! Damn it, Jared.
But I do ask. I'm like, okay, are you guys ready? You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna go live. Are you ready? Are you ready? So instead of saying that, I can just make that into a go no go poll, right? I think that would be kind of fun.
Sure.
Can you put it on the screen and then like when we say that we're go, you make it go green?
Gag.
I feel like you might have some graphics. for
So no need.
You know, and they're sitting there. They were used like anyhow. You know that story, yes? No? Maybe? All right.
I feel like I want to know the story, but probably not
No,
over
no,
live
no.
to the internet. Also, my battery just died. So
Haha.
bye, chat room.
All right, so last couple of topics because we're going on like 2 hours here, so this is very long. Hopefully you guys have had fun and have enjoyed.
I mean, I've had fun.
Yeah, I have too. We definitely need to do these more often, and I'm sorry that this has taken so long. Like,
It wouldn't be this long if we did them more than once a year.
yeah,
When did you put those in?
they've been in for.
I don't have them. That's
Yeah, they don't show up in tablet script viewer because I don't think I have any.
Oh, right. Because you're.
That's stupid.
Scroll back up to the top. Hit the gear icon. Show blank scripts. Check that.
Show blank scripts.
Hit the gear icon. Yeah. Now go to the bottom. There you go.
Gods. Stupid.
Last two items. So the first one is Tomorrow Tech in 2018. I want us to figure out science first. I want us to really.
Well, so why did you say 2018? Why don't you just say 2019?
I want us to really
Because
understand.
we're going to figure out science this year. Also, if you have any thoughts, please email me.
It's March.
I want us to really understand like science and its place in the whole thing and make sure that it is actually accomplishing what we want it to accomplish, and kind of both can stand on its own and helps get people excited about space. Because if it doesn't do that, why are we doing this show? So I had said previously we were going to do Tomorrow Tech at the back half of 2018. Now I'm saying we're going to do Tomorrow Tech when the time is right. Maybe that's the back half of 2018 still. Maybe science will come into its own by then. Maybe that's 2019. Maybe that's 2020. But I really want to make sure that we understand that science is doing what we need it to do and that we can take those lessons learned and turn them into a tech show that can also help spur support in the space side of things. If we can't do that, there's no point in making the tech show. There's just none. Not that I can see. I think a bunch of people are tech nerds, but what I don't want is another show about iPhones and tablets and laptops. That's boring. Go to Leo Laporte for that, right? He does a great job of that. We can't compete with that. What I do want is a show about AI and the impact on humanity. I want a show about the
bio-wearable devices.
Bio-wearable devices. We are the shows of tomorrow. I want to look 5-10 years into the future of tech, things that are on the bleeding edge right now that you simply cannot buy today as a consumer. So you wouldn't normally think to look for. I don't care about the iPhone 11. I care about the iPhone 20, right? Like clear OLED displays. How are those going to be incorporated into the things? Things like that. That's what I think Tomorrow Tech needs to be. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to deploy Tomorrow Tech until I'm sure that we can make it something that gets people excited about space. Again, otherwise, what's the point? That's all I'm going to say about Tomorrow Tech. And the last part is the plants of tomorrow. I'll swing a camera around.
Yeah, I was like, are we going to bring the plants here, or can we just put a camera
we're
on the
just gonna
plants?
I just talked about how expensive the audio was. These are impressive. I think you guys
Also,
will be...
they feel like they need light on them. That'd be handy.
Maybe.
This goes for like 2 hours.
just
I
walk
need
in
a
front.
nap.
Yeah, it is nap time.
So these are the plants, and they're really big. Also, I just
God,
realized
I think they're bigger than you.
the camera hasn't switched over yet because
Yeah.
you need to press buttons to do that.
Yeah, I know. Give me a second here. Hang on. Hold.
What is this thing?
All right.
They being watered?
No. Is that camera 2? Yeah. Boop. Then I'll go in and let me adjust the camera. Camera 2.
So they're so long now, I can wear them as an accessory.
That cannot be good.
But they're flowering because no one hardly ever ate the lettuce, except me, I think. So yeah, they're flowering and they're going to make seeds. And
Can you
then
believe that? That's lettuce.
we can keep the seeds and then grow the next generation of the tomorrow
How
plants.
are the strawberries and the other things coming?
Okay, so the strawberries are dying, but I don't know if you can see or zoom or something, but right here, hang on. Right here is a chili. And when that chili is ready, then someone is going to eat the chili. I don't know who yet, but
Jared.
probably Jared. But there's a chili. So we have one chili of tomorrow. And then this is thyme. And the thyme is just growing great because it's a herb that just grows anywhere. And it's kind of just taking over and killing the strawberries, which is sad because I would love to eat a strawberry, but they're not growing. They had flowers, but because their watering has not been consistent, the flowers keep dying off. So there's that. And a lot of these leaves are not healthy. So there's the plants of tomorrow. I feel like what needs to happen is that we just need to like call these a day and like take them out and then repot with like different trees and stuff because we have all different ones that we can grow.
Yeah, I have like an evergreen tree over there or something, right?
That's my thoughts on that. Or you could just, if you don't want to kill the lettuce, what you could do is
I kind of wanted to see how far that would go.
yeah, you could buy another contraption and we could start a new growth of all the extra refills that you've got. So
No, I think we're going to chuck the lettuce.
like, I can't believe how thick this is. Like, if you feel the bottom of that stem, that's like, it's woody. Lettuce shouldn't be like this. Yeah. So that's the plants.
That's what she said. All right, I think we're going to leave you on...
She cut the camera back now.
Well, I was going to leave him on a shot of the plants.
Oh, but I want to wave goodbye.
I know you want to bubble your way out.
Bye, everyone. Here's some bubbles. Can they see the bubbles on camera? Oh, electrical stuff. Electrical stuff. Oh, dear. On that note, bye, everyone. This is where you fade to black.
It's more fun to make it like super awkward.
Can you all hear the music? Oh, okay.